Looking to bet smarter? Get sports betting insight and winning picks straight from the South Point Hotel and Casino.
I think we're going to get goals from both sides here. Give me over 5.5.
That is also one of my favorite plays of the weekend is the Colts -3 on the road.
So you're getting plus 130 here.
I mean, how can you go against Tusky?
Exactly.
Join Sports by the Book at 10 a.m. Pacific and bet your winning edge.
Are you ready to lock in your bets and cash in on the games this weekend? Get weekly football winners from Alex White, Chris Andrews, and Vinny Magliulo.
I did take the dog 3.5.
I'm going to stay with the Colts here. That's definitely going to be one of my plays.
If the Bears have turned the corner, they have to take care of business in this game.
Yes.
Tune in for behind-the-book perspectives you won't find anywhere else.
Well, if you're looking to bet the under, you're going to get a better number.
The wise guys are certainly not going to play the favorites.
I know if it hits 7, don't blink. Maybe that's what bettors are waiting for.
Every NFL matchup, every college game that matters, the spreads, the stats, and the smart money plays.
Is there a way to bet against both teams?
Get your winning edge with Football Frenzy, streaming on YouTube every Friday at noon Pacific.
All right, here we go. Welcome in, everybody. It is Football Frenzy on a Friday here. Sports by the Book live from the South Point Hotel and Casino. As you can see, we still have got a lot of rodeo stuff going on, so we are rocking our cowboy hats once again, except for Vinny, because he does have the best hair.
No,
On the desk.
I left my Italian cowboy hat upstairs in getting it steamed, my fedora.
There we go.
So the feather needed a little work.
And
Thank
you
you.
can get all of that done here upstairs at the South Point. Just a couple more days to come check it out. Great gift shop, right? And I don't know if we're calling it Cowboy Christmas, but it's similar. And there's a ton of vendors. You did some Christmas shopping there.
Stuff for my wife and 2 of my daughters, or my 2 daughters, I should say. But yeah, there's a lot of great stuff and things that maybe are a bit unique, and some are like handmade and that sort of thing. So yeah, there's some good stuff. They got me for $600, something like that.
Yeah, they got me.
They got you too,
Oh, yeah.
Vinny?
Definitely. You can't not shop
I know.
during a rodeo.
Definitely. Always a
did
good
pretty
time
good.
here in
You did pretty
December.
good.
I did pretty well. Thanks to Resistol for my new black gold cowboy hat. So
Very
yes, I appreciate it very much. And to the South Point, of course. Vinny Magliulo, Chris Andrews, Sportsbook Director. I'm Alex White here with you guys for the next 2 hours. Ryan McCormick will join us for the second half. We'll be breaking down to Week 15 in the NFL. 6 division games, 4 of them with some home field revenge there. So we'll get to those shortly. We do have a couple FBS we're going to touch on tomorrow. We're going to backtrack, go to the FCS. 8 teams left in their playoffs. So we'll let you know if there's any line movements, anything like that. And then we'll touch on a couple bowl games that will happen next week before our football frenzy. So let's get right into it. Big game to kick it off here. Army-Navy game. Of course, the Commander-in-Chief for the Commander-in-Chief trophy. It looks like it's been a lot of Navy money. Vinny, open 5, now 6. And, of course, the total bet down from 39 to 38.
Yeah, and last year, Alex, saw the most points scored in this game in 7 years. Typically, they're very low-scoring games, and I think, I know that the total's gone under, been bet under by about a point to 38 now. But I think Navy. Let's face it, Horvath will throw the ball a little bit more than a lot of other than previous Navy teams, right? Both of them beat Air Force by 3. Army in a lower-scoring game, Navy in a higher-scoring game. Navy lost out on the title game for their conference on a tiebreaker. Army was 500 in the conference. I mean, there's no question that Navy is the better team here, and I think that's played into the way the numbers been bet up on the part of Navy. And both are pretty balanced in points scored and allowed. But Navy will pass a little bit more, I think, this year, Chris, than we've seen in past years.
Yeah, I think Navy absolutely deserved to be the favorite, but I like the opening number of 5. I thought that was plenty. We're talking about a low-scoring game. They're always low-scoring. They're always tremendously competitive. I've been saying it for years, too. You watch these kids play ball, You're glad that these are the kids defending our country. I really give them a ton of credit. And I don't know. I mean, number I think is getting a little bit high. Seems like there's no stopping them yet. We just went to 6.5 this morning, so I don't know if we're going to hit 7. Boy, I'll tell you what, if you hit 7, you better grab that thing pretty quick. Like Vinny likes to say, don't blink. Don't blink at all, because I think 7 would be an absolute take. I think 6.5 would. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to think it's getting pretty darn close, because I think it's going to be a really close game, as they almost always are.
A full touchdown in a matchup like this would be a ton of points. So
Yeah,
I
the
can
total
definitely
like
see
this?
that.
Yeah.
I do like Navy more. I agree with them being the favorite, right? I'm right there at 5.5, so I don't really have a play on the game. But just wanted to mention about Blake Horvath, who Vinny brought up. He is the first FBS player to have 1,000 passing and 1,000 rushing yards back-to-back years since Lamar Jackson and Quentin Flowers from South Florida in 2016, 2017. So he has been tremendous for this Navy squad. And I mean, it's no question, like Vinny said, they have been the better team this year. And remember, Army won the American last year. And then it was a little bit of a letdown, right? And Navy beat them pretty good in that matchup, 31 to 13. So difference of opinions. It's tough, but I can definitely understand taking the points here.
Yeah, I thought the opening number was good. I do want to say Navy has, I think, 3 kids from Mount Lebanon, Pennsylvania that are starting, which is not my hometown. That my best friend lives in Mount Lebanon. He's been on Navy all year. Keeps texting me, watch these guys. So, I know probably a lot of Pittsburgh guys are going to be rooting for Navy just because of the Mount Lebanon connection.
And Army was the 6.5 point favorite a year ago. That's to your point, Alex. That was a complete flip of the number here.
And Army got them the 2 years before that. It does flip-flop quite often between them. I'm nervous to even bet the under, though, because we have seen higher scoring from both of these teams. Not just they are run-heavy, but not just a run offense there between them. On the flip side with that, though, Army is very good at eating up the clock. So that does.
They really are, yeah.
And when you look at the Air Force game, like like I said, Army won a low-scoring game, and who's going to dictate the pace here? And in the Navy Air Force game, it was in the 30s. I think it was 34-31. I mean, so you're looking at who's going to certainly both teams are going to try to impose their will in terms of pace. Who succeeds in doing so will go a long way.
I did want to mention too, 250th anniversary for both. So have some really cool jerseys. Ryan was telling me about that before the show. So that's pretty awesome to be a part of one of those teams playing for them. All right, let's keep it going here. Let's go to the LA Bowl. We've got Boise State and Washington. On paper, should be a great matchup. Kind of a funky spot for Boise State coming off of the big Mountain West Championship where they beat UNLV for a third time to win back there. So I think a lot of bettors like Washington. I'd have to agree. I do think that they are worthy of being a double-digit favorite here. Just don't know if I'm willing to lay that, Chris, in a bowl game.
You always have to be careful in bowl games. I've been saying it for years. First of all, I always say power ratings is just a place to start. Well, you can almost throw out the power ratings when it comes to bowl games. You never know incentive and who's playing and who's doing what. But I do think Washington got kind of, what's the right word, underrepresented by playing in such a low-profile game. I thought that they were really worthy of a much higher profile game. But evidently, things didn't work out that way. You wonder how that's going to affect the Washington team. Now, if you do go by pure power ratings, I have Washington like a 14-point favorite. I still kind of like them. I think Boise's been a little bit overrated throughout the course of this year. I think you're going to see a huge disparity as far as like team strength, compared to strength of schedule and conference, et cetera, which clearly points to Washington. The money is on Washington, and I gotta agree with the public here. I think Washington's probably the right side.
No question about it. I mean, Chris hit on a key point, Alex. The strength of schedule differential is huge, and that's not a knock on Boise. But the other part is you have to really tread carefully in the bowl games. And if you're going to bet the bowl games, the first thing you want to do is try to gauge or try to, ascertain as much information as possible. Is that incentive for the teams, right? I mean, you have a lot of players now who's made deals to go elsewhere. I mean, the transfer portal, the world within which we live now, has changed the entire landscape, and you just don't know who you. I think Chris brings up a really good point too about the fact Washington probably deserved to be playing closer to New Year's Day, on New Year's weekend, coming out of the Big Ten. So I know that the price has been driven up. That if it hits double digits, is that the buyback on Boise? Quite possibly, but I don't know. I think to me the biggest difference here is the strength of schedule, and that certainly favors Washington in this matchup.
Just to add on to that, what you guys are both saying, I mean, Boise, we saw them really struggle against some better defenses, including South Florida, Notre Dame, and then two in the Mountain West with Fresno State and San Diego State, who we talked about the Aztecs being one of the best, right? And this is another step up in class. So I think if you're going to bet Washington, do it now. Get that 9.5, because I do agree that it'll probably move to a 10. And then we'll probably see some sharp action there. But the other thing that should be noted is now that Michigan, their head coach position just opened up, there's a lot of whispers, and Jedd Fisch could be in that conversation. Maybe they wait till after, since it is just a couple days away. They could finish the bowl game and maybe start negotiations with him. But he is one that that has been thrown out there that they might be targeting.
It's a big job.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rumors. I mentioned a couple of times my dear friend who's an LSU fan. I said, well, I'm not going to make fun of LSU. She said, oh, go ahead, please. Lane deserves it. So if that Alabama works up, if DeBoer winds up going to Michigan, but a lot of people think he might.
Yeah.
We'll get a little further on later. I mean, I think if they beat Oklahoma, I don't think that's going to happen. But, that's 10 days away or whatever it is. So I don't know. But Lane, this would be a perfect Lane move to have that Bama job open up and him jump from LSU before he ever coached a game. It'd be really pretty funny and pretty entertaining.
As the coaching carousel turns.
Oh my gosh.
Great soap opera.
The interesting thing is if they try to pursue DeBoer before even starting the playoffs, right? Because that is 10 days away. And then is that kind of kept under wraps, and it's still a little bit of a distraction for him. We'll get to that. We are going to touch on the 4 playoff games in a week from now, and we'll talk about just where the line move has gone and if there's anything we like so far.
Alex, you mentioned something may be under wraps, but that doesn't stop speculation, and speculation kind of fuels distraction, right? So,
Yes.
Again, we'll get into that a little bit more as we get when we start talking about Oklahoma and Alabama.
What I always say too, these guys always have that out. Well, I haven't talked to anybody from Michigan, but their agents have,
Right.
And that's the way it works. You can hide behind a lot of mirrors and screens and whatever, but just because we don't know about it, just because they haven't talked about it, doesn't mean it's not happening. But however, I was listening to some people that know Kalen DeBoer. I mean, I don't know him obviously, but some people know him. They think that's rumors that he's not happy at Alabama. He seems to be very happy there.
Okay.
But it's always hard. You're following Nick Saban, and a saying that I heard today, I hadn't heard it before. You don't want to follow the legend. You want to follow the guy who followed the legend. And that might open it up, for Lane or whoever.
Ask Larry Holmes. Right?
Well, who was Gene Bartow? Vinny and I are probably the only two guys that remember that. He took over
UCLA.
UCLA after John Wooden. I mean, what was he going to win? 11 straight championships? I mean, it just wasn't going to happen. So,
Well, we'll get to the playoff games and kind of throw all that together as we do keep up with the coaching carousel as it continues now. But let's go to the FCS, down to 8 teams, quarterfinals here. And just one team, SFA, was not in the playoffs last year and find themselves here this year. They've got a tough matchup. It is tonight. You're seeing a lot of action on Montana State. Remember, Montana State made it all the way to the championship last year, where they fell short to North Dakota State, who has already been knocked out this year. So I'm sure revenge on their mind. Montana State trying to make it back to that title game, and the bettors love them, now up to 15.
We're up to 15?
I
It
believe
was 14 when I left the studio. I left the sports book a minute ago.
We are up to 15
We're up to
here
15.
at the stop
there's
point.
no stopping them. No stopping them. But I told you, they had a tough game last week against Yale. And I told you, Bill Conley, who follows all college football, thought that Yale would give them a good game. He said he was very proud of the game Yale did. But that doesn't stop me from liking this Montana State team. I think they are really, really good. That's one of the best teams around. For that level of football, certainly. Listen, I don't really make numbers. I know your dad does, Alex. I don't know, but interesting to see what he liked in this game. I went by the Sagarin ratings, and they had it pretty close to where we opened it. Lower double digits. Like, what did we open? 12, I think, or 11 and a half?
Open 10 and a half on this one, yeah.
I thought that was a pretty decent number. But nobody wants to stand in front of this train right now.
Well, seeding plays into right. The thing to remember here is that every home team this week, and these are home sites, were home last week.
Right.
Now, this Stephen F. Austin has to travel this week too. So you wonder too. There's some bad weather too. We've been hearing about bad weather in certain spots. Not so much, maybe in terms of the game itself, but getting there and how has the travel impacted the road teams in these cases. So, but look, I'll tell you what. I loved watching the FCS playoffs because you really get a 100% effort at it. I mean, I'm not saying that the playoffs, and I tell you what, you get more effort in these games than you do in a lot of these bowl games. Okay, which, by the way, bowl games, I think they're going to go away at some point in this day and age. Simply, and as we get into further, when we get into more, I'll explain a little bit more about it. But I think that these teams are very motivated, and a lot of these players are auditioning and showcasing their talents too. Again, don't forget, these are kids that get into the transfer portal as well.
Yes, they are.
So no reason to think that that's not a factor in these games. Stephen F. Austin, they lost the first 2 games of the year. They haven't lost since. First game of now, same thing with Montana State. They lost, but they played Division I teams. Yeah. So they set themselves up. In college basketball, we see this too. We see a lot of the smaller conference teams. Let's take a look at the Northeast Conference, for instance. They will play anybody, anytime before they get into conference play to make themselves prepared and better prepared for it. I think we're starting to see that with a lot of these schools, and of course, the Power 4 conferences that schedule those games to open things up. Also give they find out more about their teams as before they head into the conference schedule and things like that. But anyway, that both of these teams were home last week, and Montana keeps that edge because of being a higher seed here, Chris.
Quick aside, I just checked the weather in Bozeman. It's not going to be cold. It's going to be in the 40s, which at this time of year in Montana, that's one. Now, it is going to be windy, though. Wind gusts up to 22 miles an hour.
Wow.
So keep track of that because that's going to definitely affect the passing game. But as far as cold weather, not very cold at all at this time of year for Bozeman, in the 40s.
Total still 53.5 with that wind.
Maybe
some late
gone
under.
Up 2 points too.
Yeah.
They're betting it over.
Yeah.
Looking at these FCS quarterbacks, I mean, they all have really good numbers. Looking at Stephen F. Austin here, Sam Vidlac completing 67%, 2,400 yards, 8 yards per attempt, 21-6 touchdown interception ratio. On the other side for Montana State, Justin Campson, 72% passing completion percentage, 2,400, 8.6 yards per attempt, and 20-2. So just 2 INTs.
Wow.
For him on the year. I mean, SFA, I'm impressed. I don't want to get too caught up because coming into this one, like Vinny said, haven't lost since their first 2, and they've been winning by margin. And looking at the box score in their game last week, I mean, 26 of 35. I thought they had a really good game, 10.2 yards. So I think 15 might be the buyback.
I think so too. That looks high to me. Yeah, especially, I realize the total's high, but listen, maybe the handicapping the wind hasn't come into effect yet. 22 mile an hour gusts. That's pretty strong.
It is hard to find, like diving in and finding stats comparing the FCS to each other and the run percentage to the pass percentage. I don't know if that favors Montana State here in this one. I will tell you, since you brought up my dad, he is at 2 touchdowns at 14. So that
He's
is
at 14? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't really jump in,
Yeah.
but just seeing that steam, little tempting there. Let's go to Saturday's games. 3 games on Saturday. We've got Villanova and Tarleton State. Both of these teams made it last year, but they were knocked out in the second round. So kind of a already better year for them, making it here to the quarterfinals. Tarleton State, the favorite at home. Vinny, what are we seeing movement-wise here? I know that we are at 12 now, but a lot of action on the home team in this one too.
3.5 points. I mean, even and this is money that's come in overnight, even too. So it's really sustained itself. And again, Chris brought up a great point last week with the rodeo here too. A lot of these schools have following, and there's a lot of interest in a lot of these schools and these games. With the folks that are here, they follow their team. They follow the FCS extremely well. Nova, listen, they get here again. They had to hit the road after last week, but they've gotten here based on their defense for the last month. If you look at their last month of games, Alex, this is a team they're in low scoring games. They grind things out and they hold their opponents on, and so that's their credit. I mean, this is this total. Really hasn't moved that much. Actually came down a little bit, but I think that's an indicative. We opened at 54.5, Chris, and down to 53.5. But the game is up from 8.5 up to 12. Kind of, not the correlation you would normally see, but I think the total aspect speaks to Nova's defense in the last month.
Villanova's one of those teams. We don't hear too much of them out west, and all. That's a really good program. I mean, Hall of Famer. You know who they've is in a Hall of Fame from Villanova?
He does a lot of color and studio work now.
Howie Long.
Okay.
Villanova guy. Made the Hall of Fame. So and obviously had a terrific pro career out of Villanova. Yeah. So this is a terrific program. A lot of those kids that maybe want to go to Penn State or maybe wanted to go to Syracuse or some of those, and maybe they just chose to play for Villanova. It's a terrific school, Catholic school, and a lot of kids that appeals to a lot of these kids. But it's been a good program for a long time. I can tell you, I don't really have any great interest, but I'm, besides, we got bet, but it's not life and death, believe me. But I'm going to be rooting for Villanova, just, Pennsylvania team like that. I'm going to root for them.
You might get a bet from Kenny White because he liked your opening number a lot better. So
okay.
I know he doesn't love to bet against the Steam, but now that you're getting to 12, I could see him jumping in there because he did make the 7.5.
Wow,
here.
okay.
To Vinny's point, just for those who don't have a computer or anything right in front of them, their last 5 games, they gave up 7, 7, 10, went to overtime against Stony Brook. So gave up 27, but won in that one, and 10 the week before to Towson. So very good defense.
By the way, I got to correct myself. Nova was away last week as well. So Road Warriors.
Road Warriors. Here we go. All right, 2 more to get to here. We've got Illinois State and we've got UC Davis. Now, Illinois State is the team that actually knocked out last year's champion, coming off a big win. Curious if that could be a little bit of a letdown spot. And is that correct?
Illinois State beat North Dakota State.
That's right. Okay.
Yes.
That was one of the most bizarre box scores I've ever seen. And the kid I think his name's Rittenhouse. I think it's Rittenhouse.
That's right.
For Illinois. Threw 5 interceptions against the number 1 team. And they wind up winning.
Found a way to win.
But their defense played really well because I think North Dakota State scored 28 points.
Yeah.
But 1 on a pick 6, 1 touchdown on a pick 6, and 1 on either a punt or kickoff return. So their defense only gave up 2 touchdowns to the number 1 team in the country. But here it goes. I don't know how many times in a playoff game you've seen a quarterback give up 5 interceptions and wind up winning the game. And, of course, he came through at the end, and they scored to go down by 1. They go for 2, which is absolutely the right thing to do when you're a 27-point dog. I think they were. And he went for – listen, you're this far from a win.
Yeah.
Go for it. You start going for a tie. Now you're 100 yards from a win.
Right.
Maybe 200 yards because you got to stop the other team. So, anyway, I saw that final score, and I wasn't paying that close of attention. And all of a sudden I looked, I said, oh, my God, North Dakota State lost that game?
Well, didn't
because
they
they've been a powerhouse.
They scored 2 late touchdowns, right?
Yes.
At
Yes.
Illinois State. And they have
Yeah.
the, what's interesting, I think they have the most losses of anybody in the tournament. They have
Well,
4
yeah,
losses.
they were playing
Four
the one
losses, yep.
seed.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so they've got 4 losses. You look at them and saying, how did this happen? And they're getting beat. They're Chris's point, the pick sixes, everything going in, and they scored 2 late touchdowns and get the conversion. Say, we're going to win this thing, and they did. Put up the biggest upset of the weekend in the FCS playoffs last week.
That's sports, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, just look at the pro game last night.
Yeah.
Atlanta down 28 points in the fourth quarter.
19. Speaking of 19 penalties.
Yeah, they didn't have 5 interceptions, but they had 19 penalties
Yes.
and won the game. By the way, it was a really good score for us. So,
That was the most
I
penalties.
bet you got some late action on Tampa Bay, right?
we had late action. We
yes.
had early. No, actually, the
No.
early money came in on Atlanta.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, because we opened 5.5, which I thought was the right number.
Yeah.
They bet me. We went all the way down to 4.5, and we were a little low on the money line. I know a guy laid me 220 when there was like 240s around. But he's a good customer. I mean, we put him down for a pretty big whack. And he was probably counting his money in the fourth quarter. But, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, that is sports.
I had a 2-teamer money line parlay when I was I already had that one checked. All right, let's
do
see
that.
if the Panthers.
Don't do that.
I know better. I know. Just to bring up, you brought up Tommy Rittenhouse, the quarterback here for Illinois State. It's his 5th year here with
really?
this program. He is a true senior,
Yeah.
completing 65% of his passes, 2,700 passing yards, 6.7 yards per attempt. So not the highest there, but 31 touchdowns. He does have 10 INTs. Wonder if that's including all of them from last week,
Probably
too.
does, yeah.
So that's not too terrible. Now, UC Davis knocked out Illinois State last year. So you might think there could be a letdown, but this team might be on a mission now and just knocked off the number 1 seed, and maybe they can do it here. It is a low spread, though, for what I think it probably was expected. Just
I think
3.
I like the favorite a little bit here. But UC Davis, that's another good program. A lot of West Coast kids that maybe aren't quite good enough for playing in the what was the Pac-12. But I mean, they wind up at UC Davis. I spent a lot of years in Reno. Davis is just kind of down the hill. I have, not to get into too much, but a medical thing that my wife went to Davis. It's a fantastic school. And they have a pretty good program. By the way, Vinny will remember somebody from UC Davis. Quarterback, Dave O'Brien. Or not Dave O'Brien.
No.
O'Brien. Didn't he go to Davis?
Ken O'Brien.
Ken O'Brien.
Yeah.
Didn't he go
Yeah.
to Davis?
Yeah, I was going to wait for the Jets, haunting.
might be waiting a long time
I'm
for that
waiting
one.
for the Jets haunting when Ryan comes on in the next hour. Thank you.
Yeah. But Ken O'Brien, that came out of Davis. That's a long story.
So you kind of like the favorite in that
I kinda
one
like the favorite
at
here, yeah.
3, and my dad's numbers do agree with that, too.
What'd your dad make it?
6.
Yeah, I think your
Set
dad's
it up.
like
Set it
your
up.
dad's number better.
Probably giving them a little bit of that revenge, though, from last year, too, because it's not often. I mean, I went through the entire bracket from last year. It's the only rematch that I could find throughout all 5 rounds there. So, last but not least, South Dakota and Montana. Montana, an 8-point favorite, total 59. Now, the Montana quarterback, do you know how to say his name?
I do not. But he's a pretty good little player, though. I can tell you that.
Keali'i Ayat, and his dad played at Montana as
Oh, is
well.
that
I
right?
did see a clip
Oh,
about
okay.
that. So, what do we think about this one here? Favorite 8, and I do have some notes about South Dakota. Montana knocked out by South Dakota State last year,
Yeah.
hoping that South Dakota doesn't do the same thing this year.
My daughter is going for her doctorate at the University of Montana. So I doubt I could pick against them, but I think this number is a little high myself. I'm once they kick off, I'm sure I'll be rooting for Montana to at least win the game. But I think if I was out there betting this one, I think I'd play the dog.
Getting over a touchdown, I agree.
Yeah.
Getting that 8 here.
But their only loss was a couple of weeks ago, right? To
Montana
Montana
State.
State.
Yeah.
That's it. They're undefeated.
Yeah, undefeated going
Otherwise,
into that, yeah.
and I think it was a field goal, wasn't it? Wasn't it a close game?
I don't think it was that close.
Was it?
I have the score right
What
here,
was it?
actually. It was a field goal, 31-28.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. My
Yeah.
apologies. Yeah.
So, no, but good.
Now
game.
that I think about it, I think Montana State was beating them up a little bit, and Montana
Montana
made
came-
a little bit of a comeback towards the end.
Remember
I
that.
think you're right.
So, Yeah, I mean, favorite and over right now is the betting trend, and I could see it. I mean, I think these favorites, they've gotten the attention so far, and I think before we get dog money, we'll probably get closer to kickoff for these games over the weekend.
Again, though, two quarterbacks that are playing very good right now. Aiden Bowman for South Dakota. He's got 8.2 yards per attempt, 2,600 passing yards on the year, 24 touchdowns, 6 INTs. And on the other side, with Keali'i Ayat, he has 3,500 yards, 8.8 yards per attempt, completing 70% of his passes, 29-8 ratio. So
weather will be good in Missoula too, by the way, on Saturday. A high of 49. I don't have the wind forecast,
Chris. Yeah,
but it will be. It will not be cold.
Okay. Just in case, because I know Dean Hilt did ask us to talk about these games as well. So you kind of were leaning to the dog. I said my dad as well. He made it 5.5, so he would be taking the 8 there with the dog in that one.
Yeah, I would take the dog.
oh, we love our listeners
Yes.
and our viewers.
Yeah,
That's
well,
good.
and I like when we have the request, right?
Sure.
So we
Yeah,
know
no,
what
it's
we're.
Try to help them out.
That's
Sure.
right.
Good.
All right, let's go to some bowl games. We'll see if we like anything in these. Vinny, you want to give your little spiel how you feel about bowl games at this moment?
Listen, I think it's great for the players to get another game if they want to get another game. Though, I mean, what's happened with the bowl games is, frankly, because players that are transferring have already made deals by and large, and I think if players are playing in these games, then they're looking. In some cases, will some of them stay? Yes, but others are saying, you know what, I need to have a really good performance. It's like a showcase, so
Right.
that they can get to, in many cases, a Power 4 school, but a Power 4 conference school. I just think that when you watch these games and you're trying to determine the incentive, you really have it's a hard time. Look at some of these games. These games have moved already. In some cases, 3 points already. At this point in the season,
Right.
that tells you that there's not a lot of incentive for the team being bet against, or is it a false move, or is somebody saying, you know what, I'm going to take as many points in this case, or lay as many points until I get a better read and then come back in and go the other way. It's difficult because, look, we put them up. Honestly, I know places that'll put them up later because you want to get a better idea of what kind of what the mindset of these teams are. And I could see where the playoff is going to expand, and the bowl games. We remember when the bowl games were on New Year's and New Year's when there were
Almost,
half a dozen,
big
8 bowl
games,
games. After 10, it was, oh my God, there's 10 bowl games. Now look at this. Now we got 40 bowl games. We're not going to have 40 bowl games much longer in this day and age. So, players, bettors want to know who's playing. Bookmakers want to know who's playing. And it's really a race to try to make that determination.
Just to add, there's not much I could add to what Vinny said. I think listen, guys like us, we always want to remember the old days. And the old days were great because you had, guys sitting at a bowl game was unheard of. This was just a tremendous, compliment to what they achieved during the course of the season. And, that we've gained a lot by having a national football champion. We've lost a lot too. Like in the old days, the Rose Bowl, you had the Pac, 8, 10, 12 against the Big Ten winner. To go in there and win your conference, that was the main thing. And in some ways, it was good because you saw teams like, whether it would be Michigan, Ohio State. Michigan would play Notre Dame out of conference. Didn't go against their. It's a great game. Didn't go against their conference record because the goal was to win the conference. And that's just one example. So we lost that. We did gain a lot, but we lost a lot too. But one of the things that we have lost was the importance of the bowl games. Just look at some of these games. The Xbox Bowl, Missouri State and Arkansas State. If this was on a typical Saturday, would you be sitting there, Alex, saying, "Oh my God, I can't wait to see Missouri State and Arkansas State"? Of course, but this is what we got now. And listen, we'll get a lot of action on it. And ESPN will probably make a lot of money on it. But when I had my website years ago, I wrote an article about these bowl games. How it's really a bit of a scam, and I think you said somebody whose job is to run the bowls, and they work like about 10 days a year, and you make a ton of money. So,
Corporate events.
see if they're hiring, by the way.
Corporate events. And again, great for the players if they get another game if it so benefits them. But I'll tell you what, it's they've lost a lot of luster. Let's look at the attendance of some of these games. It's
You could shoot a cannon off it.
so yeah, it's
Well,
unfortunate.
I don't know what number we're up to. Ryan probably does with how many teams have opted out as a team.
You're
saw
going
it
to
in
get
the
some
last
bowl games
couple
with
years.
less than 500 record too. Let's
And
remember
then
that.
they
You've got
invited teams
5 and 7,
right.
to go to a bowl game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, Ryan probably has that. I just got a call yesterday too, like how many bunch of kids from Penn State are sitting out in that game. First of all, I thought they had the wrong favorite in the first place, and I knew there was going to be a lot of stuff going on with Penn State because, listen, it's hard to blame James Franklin. I mean, he recruited all these kids at Penn State. Now he's going to Virginia Tech, another terrific school. Of course, he's going to reach out to them. I mean, everybody else is. Why
Right.
wouldn't he?
Absolutely.
But they're missing their 2 running backs, their best defensive player. Number moved 5 points, and it may move more. But if we were just playing this game mid-season, even after the firing of Franklin, I think Penn State would have been maybe a 3-point favorite. Instead, they were a 3-point dog, and it's moved nothing but Clemson's way.
I do just want to, with that being said, wouldn't you say in the last couple of years, there's a lot of cases, it's probably like half and half. Don't just blindly bet the steam, right? Because there was a lot of cases last year where I saw the numbers just move and a team be a huge favorite and that team lose outright.
Oh, yeah.
So people think they have the
Sure.
information, but a lot of times they don't too. So don't just blindly follow
Yeah.
the steam and think you got an easy bet.
still have to win, no question about it. But it's
Try-
not as enjoyable to book them either.
It's got to be very tough for you guys.
Some-
I'd rather have
somebody-
the FC. I'd rather book a lot of these FCS. Now, some of these games are going to be good. Don't get me wrong, but I'd
Yeah.
rather book the FCS. There's a lot more incentive in the FCS games than a majority of these bowl games, right, Chris?
Oh, but hell yeah. I can remember the game. I can't remember the exact situation. Oregon was playing TCU. This is back when I had my website and I was giving out picks. And I'm pretty sure it was the TCU court. I gave out TCU at Pick'em against Oregon. I may have this backwards, but the game, TCU quarterback wasn't going to play. I don't know if he got suspended or whatever. Game moved 7 points. And I remember I just left it. I'm pretty sure it was TCU. I like TCU Pick'em. Now it goes to Oregon 7. And I never took it off my web because that's kind of I gave it out. You know what I mean? And anyway, guys were texting me and email. I said, well, I'd be careful. I said, there's no quarterback. But, I didn't take it off the website. Well, wound up, TCU killed them. And guys,
Exactly.
you told me not to bet. I said, I didn't tell you not to bet. I said to be careful. But I had to pick them. You could have taken 7. But, you're going against big steam. But I would say, too, be aware of the market, whether you follow it or don't follow it, bet against it. Sometimes betting against these big moves, like you said, or like I just illustrated,
Right.
is the right thing to do. But keep your wits about you, I would tell you, because this is a whole new ball game, these bowl games. It really is.
And it's all about information. So just, do your due diligence and try and dive in and figure out the information and why it is being bet that way. But as we say that, let's look into some of these
Yeah.
bowl games coming up this week. All of these before next week's football frenzy, which of course we will be focusing on the 4 playoff games, but touching the FCS and some of these bowl games as well, like we're doing today. But let's start it off. This one I really don't have a whole lot. We've got the runner-up of the Sun Belt Troy, and we've got the runner-up of the Conference USA Championship game, Jacksonville State. Crowder did leave the Sun Belt Championship, one of the quarterbacks for Troy, but we kind of talked about it before that title game. Kind of a 2-quarterback system they have, so Tucker Kilcrease could get the start here. Anything you like in this? And we got a 2.5-point spread here. Troy, the favorite, total 46.5.
I've been on Troy a couple of times the last couple of weeks. I made the game 4. It's 2.5. That's kind of a borderline, but if I was out there playing, I'd probably play Troy minus a 2.5. Like I said, you're going past 3 and 3.5, up to 4, which would be my number. But let me be the first to say, on these bowl games, I am not married to a number. I know that there could be some stuff going on that I'm not fully aware of. But this one, I have been on Troy in the last couple of weeks, and I just kind of like the way they're playing.
It's been a one-way move on Jacksonville State, right? So I mean, we're up in 4. It's down to 2.5. I could see that continuing. I don't know how low it'll go, but again, these two teams had pretty good seasons, but they got to be a bit of a letdown, right? They both, fell off right at the end. They lost the conference title game.
Right.
So, but hey, there's another chance here again to showcase themselves and see how they can benefit.
That makes sense now because my number is 4 as well, so closer to where you guys opened up. But diving into it, I mean, I'd kind of like the dog here getting the points because Jacksonville State, they're so run heavy. They run the 6th most in FBS, and we've just seen Troy struggle against those teams such as Old Dominion. But their defense really stepped up last time we saw them against JMU. So I'm probably going to stay away from it. But strictly number-wise, I'm with you on that one, Chris. All right, let's go to the Cure Bowl here. Orlando, Florida, South Florida, Old Dominion. Now, this one's tricky because you have to handicap in the fact that Alex Golish is not coaching. He's moving on to Auburn. And their starting quarterback, Byron Brown, is not going to play. Instead, he will serve as an assistant. So Gustin Moore will get the start there. Old Dominion's been really good this year, finished 9-3 in the Sun Belt. They are another team that is run heavy, 11th most in the country. So anything in this one, or where was your starting number before calculating in the coach and the quarterback? You want to start there?
South Florida 5.
Okay.
There's just so many variables in this game. This would be a hard one for me to bet. What is it? Mostly 3 now in the market. Is that what we're looking at?
3.5.
3.5. I don't know if that'd be enough to get me to play. Like I said, just so many variables. Sometimes, you get that key guy that's out or back or whatever. It can have an adverse effect, and I just, for me, this would be a stay away.
I think at some point they'll be South Florida. I mean, don't forget they beat Boise and they beat Florida, right?
Oh,
to start the season.
Team, yeah.
Remember, everybody was I think they were starting to get some ranking attention. Certainly their power rating went up in our eyes after those first couple of games.
And
so,
I think Florida blew them out after that. Is that correct?
So I mean, no, they beat
Florida.
They beat Boise and Florida.
Okay.
And then
But then they lost to
Miami.
Miami.
Okay,
Then they
okay. Miami blew.
So, but at that point, I think at some point there'll be South Florida, especially given the points you brought up, Alex, about the Old Dominion staff.
Well, South Florida staff.
Actually, South Florida staff. Sorry,
Where are they going now?
The staff?
Yeah.
Auburn.
They're going over.
Another team that's sitting out the Bulls, by the way.
Yes. I kind of like that 3.5 here. I like this Old Dominion team. I think all of these guys will be fired up to play a big team like South Florida, right? And I know that they do play in a smaller conference like the Sun Belt, but I watched a couple of their games. I had Georgia Southern catching points against them, 45-10. I mean, they do have a solid run game, so maybe they can score early here. And
let's remember this too, though. Coach is leaving. How many players are going with them? You don't know, and maybe somebody's, borderline. Hey, you really gotta, you really gotta step up your game here. I'm looking at you close here to go to the Plains.
Yeah, I'm sure that's part of the equation.
You need a good game.
Yeah, that's part of the equation,
right?
buddy.
It's a business discussion at that point. So you'll see some
you
of that
never
going
know,
on.
right? You don't know.
And there's some of the playoff teams. Look, I mean, and when we get to the playoff games, right? James Madison and Tulane's, but both those coaches, same situation. Obviously, at a in a more high profile game.
I think that was a really good hire by Auburn. I think those players like Alex Golish. I like what I've seen from him here at South Florida. So we'll see how he does at the next level. All right, what about Louisiana against Delaware? The Raging Cajuns are a 3-point favorite. Total 59.5.
I made the number 2. And really, Delaware's only been on our board for the last 2 years. So I'm not terribly confident in my number, but I always like this Louisiana team. And like I said, I remember, them watching them at different times. And again, I like these tough Southern kids. A lot of them not quite good enough to make an SEC team, but those kids are tough and they play hard. And, in all honesty, I don't know that much about Delaware. Made it a shade higher. I made it 3. 2 wouldn't be quite enough to get me to play. But again, I like these tough Southern kids. I think that's, a decent profile of what's going on, like in some of these smaller conferences down south.
No movement on the game. Game's been bet over by about 3 points. Pair of 6-6 teams, one out of the Sun Belt and the other out of Conference USA. I mean, if you're Lane Kiffin, don't you send a staff member there? Hey, go take a look at this. Maybe there's somebody on that Cajun team that we need to take a look at. So, pretty much a showcase game for these two teams, for these players. Delaware
really a surprise this year, and did bet on them a couple times catching points here, but I'm with you. Made it a little higher. 4, total 61.5. I'm right there with the total sitting at 60. So I'm going to pass on that one. Don't feel like I know enough going into it. Doesn't seem like a ton of opt-outs. So for either of them, just maybe injuries and some guys that missed week 11 and on anyways. Xbox Bowl, you brought it up earlier. Missouri State, Arkansas State. Don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this one if we don't want. I didn't even dive into it that much. Arkansas State, 1.5 points here at the South Point, 56.5. Vinny, any movement to catch everybody up on?
Flip a favorite. Opened Missouri State, won. Chris opened one to start the bowl season off, but now it's all Arkansas State again. 7-5, 6-6, so pretty much 500 teams. Again, it's Conference USA and the Sun Belt. There seem to be quite a few of these or several of these matchups. But that it's line movement, Alex, and basically a pick'em game, but a slight favorite and a flip of favorites. Total hasn't moved at all. 56.5, holding steady.
I agree with the flip of favorites. Now, just to let you know, when I open these bowl games, I don't like to be too far off the market. Half point at the most, because I don't know what's going on in most of these games, and I think a lot of guys who bet those early numbers know more than I do. But that being said, I did make Arkansas State 3, so I agree with the flip of favorites. I don't know why Missouri State was the favorite at one point, but Arkansas State, they've been pretty inconsistent. They've had some real clunkers in there, but overall, I did think that they deserve to be a 3-point favorite because Missouri State hasn't exactly cut the world on fire either.
I made it too with Arkansas State, so I'm right there with you. I might have to dive into that a little bit more. I did make the total lower at 52, so something I'll be looking at over the weekend and report on next week to everybody who watches Sports by the Book to see if I do like that under. But I'll be watching to make sure it doesn't drop lower either. Both of these teams have lost 2 of 3 coming into this one to end their season, so we'll see how that one goes. I think this next game could be very interesting here. Kennesaw State and Western Michigan, 2 favorites here, the winner of the Conference USA and the winner of the MAC going head-to-head. I think we should get a good matchup between these two. Western Michigan, a 4-point favorite, total 50. Curious where your number is, Chris. I actually only made Western Michigan 1.5 points, so right now it's a lean to taking the points with Kennesaw State.
Well, I made it pick them, and I'm looking at Kennesaw State, where I open them and where I close them for the season, 10 points to Kennesaw State's favor. So this team, another one I didn't know much about, but I just follow the scores, and I have a methodology for how I create my power ratings, and they jumped up 10 points. Now, Western Michigan, I think I mentioned them before. I've always kind of had a little bit of an affinity to Western Michigan because when P.J. Fleck was there, I was following the recruiting wars closely, and P.J. Fleck was out recruiting everybody at Western Michigan. So I've kept my eyes on them all this time. But I'm looking now, Western Michigan, they're 5 points better than where I opened them for the season, which sounds about right. I mean, they were pretty good. Again, they didn't set the world on fire, but they're pretty good. So I think this is a pick-em game myself. So I don't know what's the current price. What are we looking at right now?
Hasn't moved.
Catching 4, right?
Catching 4.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just a little too much. I think I'd have to take the dog there.
I agree with you, Alex. And this, again, I've had my points about the bowl games, but this game and the next game, I think might be pretty entertaining. Let's remember, it's a week from today. This game is an 8:00 Pacific start with 2 respective conference champions, and we go to the next game, which will be a midday, and that'll be Memphis and NC State. We'll talk about in a minute. But then again, we wrap things up with Alabama and Oklahoma that night. So
right.
this is a nice trio of football games for next Friday, and this is a good one to start things off. But really hasn't been as much movement here. I think both of these teams. This is a game where I think, as best we could tell so far, that I think there's incentive for both of these squads to perform, and just a little bit of an uptick to the over.
And Vinny, that's maybe what they should do moving forward, because they'll probably go to play-in games in each conference, right, to get a seat in the dance and to get into the playoffs. But then maybe having some, runner-ups and then champions of these smaller conferences playing in these bowl games, because I think these two will both be motivated. They both just won their conference championship, and now they get to test it and go against each other.
Quality over quantity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you brought up Memphis and NC State. Let's go there. This is the last bowl game we will touch, and then we will talk about the playoff games just to see if there's been any movement or if we like anything. Now, remember, the head coach of Memphis, Ryan Silverfield, he did get the Arkansas job. He will not be coaching. The coach on the defensive side, Reggie Howard, will serve. I don't think he was the DC, though, as an interim for the bowl game. And then Charles Huff from Southern Miss. So pretty good hire there for Memphis, we think, going into the year. NC State does have a few more potential opt-outs, but a little bit more steady there because their head coach will still be there. 6-point favorite, total 58.
Well, I made a number 6. And if you look, three of the last 4 games for NC State, very good results, all at home, though. So that sometimes you have to just kind of wonder about that. At least have that in your ultimate rating on how you're looking at it. But Memphis losing their coach, who I really liked a lot. I thought he'd done a terrific job at Memphis. I made the game 6. Is that what it is right now? In the
That's
market?
what it is right
I
now.
laid the opener 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I would touch this one. I mean, it's right there, and once again, just a lot of question marks on the Memphis side. If it was a full strength game, I'd probably like the dog here. But like I said, NC State closed strong at home. I'm looking. Who was their last? You have the schedule right there. Who was their last road game? Should've been
Miami.
3. Yeah, they didn't play very well there.
41-7.
Yeah, but three solid home games in between that. And I don't know. I mean, sometimes I try not to let that affect my power rating too much, but it's there.
The last 2 road games were Miami and Pitt was playing just as good as anyone until they ran into Notre Dame and Miami themselves.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, pretty good teams. Georgia Tech was a pretty good team. They beat at home. Then Florida State, we know how they were by the end of the year, but they did beat up on the Tar Heels pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
who were also very inconsistent this year.
and then on the flip side, Memphis lost the last 3 to end the season, and you need to check on Braden Lewis to see if he's playing. I doubt it. He dealt with so many injuries, the quarterback for Memphis, throughout the season. So I'd be kind of surprised if he played in this bowl game.
It's a wire game. Follow the wire. Follow the reporting wire. I'm using the old term, Chrissy. Follow the reports. Really stick with the media. Follow the school sites and things like that. Because right
You're
now,
going back to the days of the Sting.
That's
with
right.
the
I
wire.
am the wire. Why not?
Well, let's get into these 4 playoff games. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll dive into some NFL. We do have some very meaningful games coming up this week. A lot of teams still fighting for their playoff spot in the National Football League. Let's go to the first one, Friday night. Vinny, you mentioned it. We've got 2 good bowl games leading up to this, and then we've got Alabama and Oklahoma. No numbers showing on my screen. I think that means that we're at a pick-em right now between these two. Total 40.5. Has it been all over the place? Because I know some places had Bama as a 1-point favorite. Other shops had Oklahoma as a 1-point favorite, but we're sitting right here at a pick-em.
Remember, Alabama about a month ago, 6.5-point favorites at home. They took the 6, Chris, with the Sooners in that game. Of course, the Sooners prevailed 23-21. This game is set at pick'em, Alex. And either way, if one team becomes a 1-point favorite, it's still going to be basically a pick'em game. So, interesting that the committee went with a rematch, right? A couple of rematches here. We'll get to another one for Saturday. A little curious about that, but again, I guess that they do their seeding, and that's how they pair the teams. But Again, Oklahoma with a big win. Really, certainly the game that got them into the postseason. That
Definitely.
signature win over Alabama. And I know. Listen, the other thing too, and Chris and I, we answer this a lot too. What about the selections and who's in and who's out? Two things. First of all, we know that the playoffs field is going to expand, and when it gets to 16, whenever that is, there's going to be controversy from about teams 17, 18, 19, and 20. Right? You're always going to have that. You have it now in the NCAA basketball tournament. The other thing is, I've learned this. Just give us the matchups. We'll give you the numbers. You guys can argue, and you just go ahead and bet, right, Chris? I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I don't, And then, oh boy, Notre Dame would brought in a lot of action. What, you think we're not going to have a lot of action on the James Madison Oregon game right now? I've written more action on that game than any of the other three.
There you go.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear this.
You know who's in second place? Mississippi and Tulane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So don't tell me we're not going to write business because we're going to write a ton of business.
Well, and a lot of people don't want to see this rematch, like Vinny said. So that kind of.
You know what though? They'll bet it. Especially look at this at 5 o'clock on a Friday night here.
You think they won't bet that?
This game will be bet like an NFL game. This game will do more business individually. I'm not talking about with carryover. All right, but this game will do more business than a couple of 10 o'clock Sunday morning NFL games that week.
I can think of a few coming up this week.
Yeah,
this week too.
You like anything so far in that one?
When I first looked at it, I liked Alabama, and I went into it a little more deeply, and I think I like Oklahoma. And I think I said I said last week, why was Oklahoma a slam dunk to get into this tournament? I was just questioning. Nobody brought that up. That Notre Dame wasn't better than Oklahoma, or Oklahoma was better than Alabama or Miami or blah, blah, blah. I wasn't so sure that they were. And they had the built-in excuse. Mateer missed a couple weeks, and that's when they lost their games and all that. But that being said, like I said, I looked into it a little more deeply, and I think I like Oklahoma in this game. I think very strong home field. They've had a strong home field for a long time. And, Friday night in Norman, I think it's going to be a tough game for Bama. I like Oklahoma. I
think I do too. I think I got to cancel out the outside noise because I've heard a lot of people like Bama and kind of talking about the rematch. And, I can be a sucker for that. But even adding in, I have Oklahoma 2 at home.
I made Oklahoma 3.
So I have them very closely power rated and kind of, So we talked a lot about Oklahoma's offense stinks. Maybe they shouldn't get in because of that, kind of relating to Miami last year, where their defense was really bad and got left out. But that defense is going to show up here at home, and maybe some time off for John Mateer. Alabama's offense isn't doing much either, and they had negative 3 rushing yards last time we saw them against Texas.
Yeah, Ty Simpson's been real good at times and not so good at others.
And I think that Oklahoma defense is one of those times we saw.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, he had a really good game in that one, over 300 yards. But
speaking of, total hasn't moved either. So
40.5. I might just go with an under. You said they're going to still bet it. I told myself I might stay away from that one because, it's a coin flip, right? But let's keep it going here. Let's see what we got for the Saturday games. Up first on that Saturday morning is the James Madison Oregon game, 22 for the Ducks. So Chris took a lot of action here. Is it mostly on the favorite, or have you seen some buyback on the?
Not yet. No, not yet. Again, my numbers came to 21. I respect my numbers a little more in these kind of games, but still, James Madison, I might be a little bit off on their exact power rating, but I did make it 22. And I probably, if you're going strict bookmaking rules, I probably should be at 21.5. But I have gotten money on the favorite. I think the favorite money will continue. I went to 22. It is what I made the game. So I might as well use what I made it, because I think it's reasonably appropriate. I was at 21.5, 22. So I went to 22. We'll see if that stops that Oregon train, or maybe brings in a little bit of James Madison money. We'll find out.
The favorite will get played here for quite a bit. It might have been, Chris. Did they bet the dog early on Monday at all? A little bit, or
think they did. Yeah.
But it's quickly, because then you're just trying to, you say, okay, how, compare it to the opening number, right? And you're where we, but it's been a run now for 4 days on the Ducks, and I think that's going to continue.
Well, of course, Bob Chesney moving on after he is coaching as far as his team goes.
Where's he winding up?
With the Dukes. He's going to Cal. He's going to Cal.
He's going to Cal. And some of these players are going to go with him.
So he's done a hell of a job with James Madison. He really has.
But I should mention, Oregon, both their coordinators got head coaching jobs.
Yes.
Don't remember. Don't ask me exactly where those two are going, but we'll look into that too. But that makes it tough. Maybe not in this matchup. And we know Dan Lanning has been a bully. We saw it against Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
He's
not
shy.
And he's a real good coach too.
Definitely. So that one's tough. I can't really make a case for the dog yet in that one. This one, I'm trying to. Ole Miss 18, Vinny, total 57. Tulane, we saw them play very good to beat North Texas, one of the best offenses. Yeah. So good defense. Rematch here between these two.
This is a similar situation, right, Alex? You have you have both coaches in this game that are leaving. Although Tulane's coach is going to coach in this game, unlike that Kiffin guy. This has been one way traffic, and this is a rematch also. 45-10 earlier. First, I don't know, maybe right after the first month, first half of the season at Mississippi. But they bet Tulane in that game. In this game, and by the way, that was 12-13 at Oxford. This game is up to 18. From 16. This has been one-way traffic here. I think that continues just based on this matchup. What's the threshold, buyback for a threshold? I don't know. We'll keep moving it and find out, right, Chris?
I hope it's 18.
I know.
It hasn't happened yet. We opened 16. I made the number 17. So when I opened 16, again, I didn't have a great problem with opening to get 16 because that was what the market was, and I opened it. But they laid the 16. They laid 16 and a half. They laid 17. Finally, I said, well, the hell with it. Let's just go to 18, rather than mess around with it, 17 and a half. So, but I did go to 18, and so far, no takers. We'll see if that's going to do it or not. But, like I said, I made the game 17. Do I have a strong opinion? Absolutely not. But looks like I'll be rooting for Tulane come Saturday.
I'm a little lower, 16 there, but not enough for me to jump in on Tulane. It'll be interesting. We'll see. I mean, could Ole Miss come out a little disheveled to start, or is this a rally, right? And they have their OC there, and the DC becomes the head coach, so they do have stability. And
which players are going too, though, right? At some point, you have to figure that, particularly freshmen, right? The players that specifically got recruited.
Well, I will say this, though. This was going into last year. And I believe it was last year. It might be 2 years ago. Lane Kiffin said, we're not getting that 5-star, 4-star athlete. We're not getting enough of those. So it's a little bit of an insult to these players, that maybe like, hey, the hell with Lane. He's at LSU now. And at LSU, he's going to get those 4 and 5-star guys. They go to LSU. A lot of them from Louisiana. So I'm not sure how many he's going to get. But listen, Lane's a hell of a salesman. You don't run around with all those cheerleaders unless you're a pretty good salesman. And we know Lane's been doing that too. So I don't know. We'll see what happens here. But I kind of think, if anything, this kind of helps Mississippi in this game. I think the fans will be rabid. I think the coaches and the players will, really put out an A1 effort.
And then the next game, of course, if they win this one, they will have to face Georgia. So maybe that is a time that you're looking to bet against the Rebels in the playoffs.
Yeah, because Georgia's peaking right now.
Yes, they are. Definitely. All right, last but not least, probably the most intriguing of the 4 because we get to see the 2 teams that beat Notre Dame to keep them out of the playoffs. They are playing each other, Miami, Florida, Texas A&M, the Aggies, 3.5 at home, total 51. Vinny, you want to start it off?
Solid. 3.5 open, 3.5 right now.
Yeah.
51 on the total, 51 right now. And cue it. Two-way action. Happy to say. Will it stay that way for another week? We'll find out.
Probably not,
By the way, also let's remember we should point out that the rotation numbers are out of sequence because of a scheduling adjustment. So you'll notice that the pay attention when you're betting most places, especially here at South Point, that you're using that left number, your sequence, but also the time changes too. Don't forget, this is the game that starts the day off, Alex. So this is a 9 o'clock. This is the 9 o'clock, the early game, which I don't know. I'm a little curious about that. I thought maybe there would be a little bit later, and then the midday game, maybe, I don't know, 10, 1, and 5. But all that said, bettors will adjust, right, Chris? And there'll be a lot of action on these. We said it when they went to the playoff format. And we knew that these games would be bet like NFL playoff games, and we book them the same way, right, buddy?
Oh yeah, a guy came in. He said, "Well, I wanted to bet some rather large bets." I said, "Yeah, just give me a day in advance. Do our best to take care of you." I don't have a problem with Alabama and Oklahoma closing the slate, though. I got to tell you, on Saturday night.
No, that's on Friday. Alabama and Oklahoma is on
who's
Friday.
closing it?
On Friday,
Oh, that's Oregon.
It's
I'm sorry, I'm looking at
the
the
Oregon
original
game.
schedule.
Yeah.
That's like I said, so far that's our biggest action game. But anyway, A&M in Florida, I made it, or Miami, Florida. I only made it 2. Now maybe I'm a little influenced from our good friend Chris Felica, the Bear, who's been on Miami, and he wanted me to put up a prop.
He's an alum.
I know. He wanted me to put up a prop. Ohio State, Indiana, and Miami against the field. So where'd you come up with Miami? Well, I know where he came up with it. His ring that he has from his alma mater. He's probably listening. Anyway, but maybe I am a little influenced by him. But I think that number's just a shade high. I made it 2, so we're going with 3.5. It's a key 1.5 difference from my number of 2. I think I would play the dog here.
Do you mind? Do you have your home field for Texas A&M? What you use?
3.
3. Okay.
Yeah.
If I use 3, I would be at 2 as well.
Yeah. I try to adjust during the course of the year because every team has its own personality. When you go through a little bit of history because of the crowd, because of the school, because of everything attached to what is a school, what is Oklahoma, what is Penn State. I mean, it's not just the buildings, it's the whole community.
Right.
But A&M, I've had higher at other times. But don't forget, according to my theory, is how much different are they home and in a way. A&M's been tough no matter where they play.
Right.
So Georgia, I don't have the highest home field rating for Georgia. That's because they beat everybody anywhere they go.
Right.
It doesn't matter if they're at home or away. But anyway, A&M, I just crunching the numbers. I just think that's a shade high. I made it 2.
My only concern is Miami the type of team that doesn't need this break? I mean, they were finally playing their best football like we had seen to start the year.
That's a solid point, yeah.
Now we're taking this short break here, and then they have to play on the road. But, I mean, they started the season strong, so could just be a reset. Yeah. I think this game is all about turnovers, right? We've seen it from Carson Beck and Marcel Reed. So who takes care of the football? It's really hard to handicap that.
You bring up an important point, Alex, because these teams, okay, they're off this week, but they're still kind of in more of a rhythm than the teams that have the bye.
Yes.
Right? And we'll get into it next week. If I'm not mistaken, didn't all 4 teams a year ago that had the bye get beat?
They did. Yeah.
Right? So there's something to be said, rest is good, especially late in the season, to heal. And, Indiana had a couple of injuries. I don't think anything too severe against Ohio State, but there's some football, especially, is a routine. It's a rhythm that your body is in, and that's something that you want to take into consideration too with these games, particularly when maybe even with first halves. We'll get into that next week.
Before we move on, we do have the exact.
I was going to ask.
Oh,
if
go ahead.
Yeah.
I didn't bring the sheet with me. I was just trying to look it up on my phone.
Ryan actually made a graphic per team.
Yeah.
So it is. Yeah. Did you guys take any bets yet on the exacta?
We've taken some, but nothing huge.
So nothing really to move.
I don't know that we've moved any numbers yet at all. Here we go.
There's the sheet.
Vinny got the sheet.
So here's Indiana, and they're of course Vinny's got it in his
in my laptop.
In his laptop.
Yeah,
there we go.
Right.
So there's Indiana for them to win in the exacta. There's Ohio State on the other side of the bracket. If you like them to beat Indiana in the championship game, plus 550. And then it goes on all the way to JMU if you think that they do make it all the way there. I thought it was interesting. Bama was a lot shorter than some of the other ones. If you could if you could switch to somebody on the other side, like Georgia.
Yeah. Let me. Bama, where am I at with Bama?
There's Ole Miss. So Ole Miss,
okay.
if it is Oregon and Ole Miss, 100-1, that's pretty good there. Oklahoma 275-1, but Alabama is 200-1. So.
Well, how about you could bet Tulane to beat James Madison?
Yes, you can.
50,000 to 1.
You're not recommending that, though.
I am not recommending
Okay.
that.
What's the minimum bet you will take on that?
Well, if you bet at the kiosk, it's $2. If you bet at the
Just kidding.
kiosk, it's
Asking for a
$2. You go to
friend.
the window, it's $5. Yeah.
Alex,
Yes.
come to the counter. We'll
And-
get you down.
Anything else that we should go over with these? There's Oklahoma. If you think they're going to make a run now, I have heard, and I'm curious if you've heard this. You know when the argument with March Madness, there's always that team that probably shouldn't have got in, and then they kind of make a little bit of a run.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Oklahoma? Is that Alabama?
Could very well be.
Could be either one, yeah.
I mean,
Listen, I'm looking at those prices. A lot of it reflects on some action that we've had.
Okay.
You know,
in the future book.
In the future
no
book.
question.
So you might have some on Alabama to win it all.
Yeah, I think I do have some money on Bama. That's why that
Because
number's a little low.
The
Okay.
game's a pick 'em, and Alabama's 25-1, and Oklahoma's 40-1. I mean,
Right.
so you say, and Oklahoma's home, but Chris is right. This is a season-long pool, too.
Did you guys fill out a bracket yet?
I didn't.
Okay. We'll
No.
have you guys do that over the weekend. I'm
Okay.
curious if you were looking at any other long shots to make it far. And I know Oregon's kind of been a sexy pick because
Yeah, they're the 5 seed. That's not a big long shot.
they're the 5 seed, but they have a nice path, right?
Yeah.
But last year, I mean, Ohio State and Notre Dame, neither of them were very high. As Vinny mentioned, the
Yeah.
1 through 4 knocked out. I don't think that'll happen again. I think you learn,
Yeah.
right,
Mhm.
from the years prior. But maybe Georgia, not really long shot either, but
Well, I love the way Texas Tech's played, and I've been
Texas
mentioning
Tech.
them for the last couple months. I mean, it's not a great price. What have I got them 6-1? I don't know. You might be better just rolling over your money line.
what about a Tech with Ohio State and then vice versa? Ohio State beating Tech. Is that maybe worth a little bit for those that
You got
don't
that?
have a Texas Tech? It looks like 18-1 for them to beat Ohio
That
State.
might be worth a shot.
Texas Tech?
So I'm thinking if it's just a different way to bet these.
Did you
But
say Ohio State over Texas Tech, Alex?
yes,
8-1.
8-1.
How about Texas Tech over Ohio State?
Texas Tech over Ohio State is 18-1.
That might be worth a shot.
Yeah, that's not a bad ticket to have, that's for sure. All right, you two. Well, just to remind everybody that is watching live and coming down here, get in early, get your parlay cards in, all 5 available as they always are. Reverse teaser, half point card, ties win card here at the South Point.
Do
So
we
go
have a
ahead and
poll
stop in.
for this segment?
That's a great question. Let me pull that up. I'm sure
I think we usually have one for each segment, right?
we sure do. College poll. Let's get to it. How many bowls to count? Which bowl game are you taking the points in this week? The options were Missouri State +1, Jacksonville State +2.5 versus Troy, Old Dominion +3.5 versus South Florida, or Kennesaw State +4 versus Western Michigan. So right now, leading, it was 38% of the vote on Jacksonville State +2.5
Ooh, all right.
against Troy in the
think I'd
Veterans
take
Bowl
Kennesaw.
on Tuesday.
Nice poll.
I'm with you. Kennesaw
right?
State and
Full.
Old
Yeah.
Dominion. I think I like those last two,
Okay.
but we shall see. We'll dive into those more starting Monday. And then, in case I forget later on, Monday we will be doing a recorded show. So look out for that on our YouTube channel. It'll be myself, Chris Andrews, and Chris Felica, the Bear. So we'll be diving into these playoff games and probably talking more futures too.
Mhm.
So looking forward to that. All right, well, let's take a quick break. Thank you to the crew. Thank you, Vince, for getting me that poll question here. And we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, Ryan McCormick joins us on the desk, and we're going to break down Week 15 in the NFL.
Heading to Las Vegas to catch the action at Allegiant Stadium? Skip the traffic and the sky-high room rates of the Strip. Book your stay at the South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa. The South Point is located just 7 miles away from the stadium, and it's a quick trip up the freeway, making it an affordable rideshare or taxi ride. And don't worry about getting here when you land in Vegas. We offer a convenient airport shuttle to get your getaway off to a stress-free start. Shuttles are also available on Raider game days for a small fee. So whether you're rooting for your team or seeing your favorite band in concert at Allegiant Stadium, South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa is your ticket to all the excitement.
South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Are you ready to lock in your bets and cash in on the games this weekend? Get weekly football winners from Alex White, Chris Andrews, and Vinny Magliulo.
I did take the dog 3.5.
I'm going to stay with the culture. That's definitely going to be one of my plays.
If the Bears have turned the corner, they have to take care of business in this game.
Yes.
Tune in for behind-the-book perspectives you won't find anywhere else.
Well, if you're looking to bet the under, you're going to get a better number.
The wise guys are certainly not going to play the favorites.
I know if it hits 7, don't blink. Maybe that's what bettors are waiting for.
Every NFL matchup, every college game that matters, the spreads, the stats, and the smart money plays.
Is there a way to bet against both teams?
Get your winning edge with Football Frenzy, streaming on YouTube every Friday at noon Pacific.
Hour number 2 and change getting started in Sports by the Book Football Frenzy. This is the NFL hour, but I do have a question for our guy Vinny Magliulo, as I did ask Chris Felica when he had him on the show last week, and I asked Chris Andrews on Monday what his opinion would be or what his numbers would be if something was different in the college football playoff format. And so it is my belief that if you win your conference championship, you should earn a home game if you are in said college football playoff. So in this case, since we have two G5 teams, Tulane and JMU would be the home teams. You make the Power 5 schools go on the road and have to prove that they're the big dog. So, Vinny, what would you make the number for Oregon at JMU and Tulane at Oregon at JMU, Tulane hosting Ole Miss?
Well, there's a reason those teams are not in the Power 4 conferences, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't get invited. And it's not a knock on them. And listen, can David beat Goliath? Absolutely. I mean, look at Chaminade against Virginia, over 40 years ago. And it happens. There's no doubt about it. We saw a game last night where the Falcons, who were mathematically eliminated last week and down 14 points at the beginning of the fourth quarter and early in the fourth quarter last night, come back and win the game. But that said, we in our last segment we talked about Oregon being 22 right now and Mississippi being 18, but they opened 21 and 16. I don't think I would adjust the number by more than 2 points.
Okay.
Why? Well, again, it's still the power of the teams. Teams do travel better today, and you've got these Power 4 teams when they go on the road. Those environments they're far more. I don't know necessarily hostile, but that you're dealing with so much more when you go into places like the Big House, and when you go into places, like the Horseshoe and things like that. Look at even Penn State. When you go to the Happy Valley, you go to these places where there's close to 100,000 people. That toughens you. That's a but and we see teams look at again. Oklahoma went into Alabama and beat them there. So they're more in tune with it, more capable of it. The other part is in our world is anticipation. That those favorites are still going to get played, just like they're getting played now. So I guess you would, to answer your question directly, I would lower the opening number maybe by a couple of points, but knowing full well we're still going to need those home dogs at the end of the day.
Yeah, I just, in terms of betting, I do think it would create allow more people, more fans to bet on the underdog in that situation. You allow for some kind of home environment for that small school. You allow for that school to get more money in sales and all that kind of stuff versus having to go into an almost impossible task of going into a power school and get it done there. But again, all hypothetical and just kind of a conversation at this point.
Yeah.
Kind of jumping in and agreeing with Vinny there, because looking at Ole Miss and Tulane, you would take away Mississippi's home field, but you probably wouldn't give any of Tulane's because they're not intimidated to go there, right? And they do play at these big SEC stadiums, all conference play. So I think it would be a small shift, but
Mississippi split their two really difficult games this year, right, on the road too. I mean, look, did Tulane win on the road this year? Absolutely. I mean, there's no question. Did everybody can win on the road, but it's a completely different set of circumstances when you're talking about the group of 5 compared to the Power 4 schools. Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted your opinion there since I got Chris's in.
What'd Bear say?
Well, he doesn't like the G5 being in the playoff period.
You can still make a number.
Yeah. He was he thanked me for staying up for the small school, but I went to a small school, so that's kind of why. But yeah, so we'll move on. We got a little bit off of the NFL track, so we'll go there. You guys are already covered what happened last night, so we'll just get right to Sunday. And we'll talk first about an eliminated team at 1 competing for a playoff positioning. The Cardinals on the road in Houston. Texans open 9.5, 42.5. The Cardinals are extremely injured. No Marvin Harrison Jr., no Paris Johnson, their starting left tackle, and also 3 starting DBs missing for them as well. So, Chris, I'll go to you first. What do you think here?
I made the number 10. I mean, the only thing that kept it at 10 is Houston's inability to run up scores on offense, But I mean, I think this is one of those games where I remember a long time ago when I started really getting serious about things. I remember Roxy Roxborough, this huge name in our industry, says, you can see an NFL game covering double digits where they have no chance of ever winning that game. And I see that maybe here, but I do make the number 10, so I mean, I kind of point a little bit towards a favor because, like you said, Arizona has a lot of injuries. Arizona, and I was talking to Alex on the break, covered a lot of Jeff Fogel's numbers, some of his metrics. And you can see Arizona is not a very good team. They're pretty bad. Houston is a great defense, but a pretty bad offense, So, I mean, gun to my head, I guess I'd lay 9.5, but you're cutting it pretty close because I made it 10. But, I could see this being the kind of game where Arizona would have no chance of winning the game and still somehow cover, 28-20 or something like that. I could see that.
Okay.
Late cover, probably backdoor, turnovers or special teams or, penalty. I mean, God knows penalties don't come into play. Only 19 last night.
Yeah,
on the,
but they
on,
covered.
on,
Oh, no, I'm sorry,
on the
they
part
won.
of the Falcons, and they won the game outright. So, yeah, I mean, it's double digits now, sitting at 10. In all likelihood, I know this. If this was an afternoon game, 10 would be low. We'd go through the 10 much quicker, and we may see that here.
I hope the dog does cover because I like the under a lot at 42. I dove in, and I'm curious what his numbers actually said for median-wise. But looking at Arizona's defense, right, they are in one of, if not the best conferences. 5 games against the Rams, Seahawks, and who am I forgetting? The Niners. In those 5 games, they gave up 169 points. In their other 8 games, they gave up just 10 more, 179. So I do think that their defense is better than it gets credit for because they've given up like 40 points a couple times to the Rams, Seahawks, or Niners. So I went with the under here, under 42. Love Houston's defense. Talked about it last week. Number 1 in a ton of metrics. Opponent EPA, points per game, yards per game, all of those. So I think we're going to get low scoring. And that kind of pushes me to liking the dog a little bit because I don't think they're going to, put up a whole bunch of points here.
You know what Houston's median offensive touchdown number is?
I'm going to say 1.
You got it exactly, 1.
More times than not.
Yeah,
They
that
just
kind of
scored
points
1.
to an under.
And possibly the dog keeping it close there.
Yeah.
But
I'm telling you, look at the Arizona side of the
Yeah.
ledger, and it's not very
not so
impressive.
much. All right, so more comfortable with the under there. We'll move to Philly, one of 5 games that has a winter weather warning this weekend. So Raiders on the road in Philly. Opened Eagles minus 12.5, total at 38.5, down to 11.5, and the total stayed there. So, Vinny, what are we thinking here?
It's interesting. This game came up, and I mean, Geno Smith's status is still. I think he's more probable now than not, or we may see Kenny Pickett actually.
Yeah.
I think Geno Smith's been banged up for a while. Probably more unlikely to play, I should say. So, does it give the Raiders a shot in the arm? I don't. I mean, the bettors. Somebody seems to think so because the game opened. It opened at 12.5, down to 11.5 now. Look, even with that said, we're gonna need the Raiders in this game. We've kind of needed them now for most of the season. But at Philadelphia, 3 straight losses. Didn't think they were going to lose their 3rd straight last week. Not so sure what the issues are with the Eagles. Trying to get things right. The weather could be a great equalizer, which adds to taking the points, particularly 11.5 or 12 points. So I could see that. It doesn't really shock me, Chris, that they took the points here, even with Pickett likely to go.
Kenny Pickett, Super Bowl winner.
With the Eagles.
With the Eagles. Super Bowl champion, Kenny Pickett. My
He got
numbers.
in that game, didn't he?
Huh?
He got in that game.
I think he knelt at the
I
end of
think
the game.
Counts.
Yes, you get your letter, right? When you get the kneel or the hold for a field goal or whatever.
Yeah.
My numbers came to 14.5, but again, I always say diminishing returns. Anything over double digits, be careful. The more I dive into this game, the more I like the Raiders, I hate to say. But I mean, it's going to be cold. We know it's going to be really cold. I think the the popular assumption, and I think it may go into the coaching, is Philly's not running the ball. Now, they got to try to run the ball because, I mean, they've lost 3 straight. Jalen Hurts, listen, I love Jalen Hurts for a million reasons, but he's not playing good football right now. So they got to try to establish this running game. And successful or no, they are going to eat up some clock. It's going to take some time. And, that's why, I mean, 11.5, 12, you'll probably get more than that. Like Vinny said, we're probably going to need the dog come post time. So 11.5 is probably a low water mark. Probably going to get a little bit more than that. But I think they could easily cover this number. And once again, have no chance of winning this football game, but still cover this number. Again, 21-10, you get the dough. Guess what? So that's the way I kind of see this game, something like that.
Is that based off of weather as well, though?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Weather,
absolutely.
Bit of an equalizer.
It's going to be freezing. I mean, my cousin on the East Coast, she sent me a thing like of a map of the whole Northeast. It's going to be freezing.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, and I know the receivers wear gloves and all that other stuff, and that stings your hands, when you catch a ball. I'm not, this looks to me to be an under for a variety of reasons, but weather's part of that.
I was kind of thinking opposite as you because I did make it 15. I'm on the higher side of 2 touchdowns here. I thought it could be a good spot for the Eagles, especially Chris. I mean, Jalen Hurts had 4 interceptions, plus they had a fumble, right? So they had 5 turnovers. I guess the other side had 3, so lost the turnover battle 2-0. They only lost by 3 in overtime to the Chargers. So, I mean, I just thought it might be a bounce back spot, and they could.
Well, that's what makes gambling, kid. You have one opinion, I have another. But that is my opinion. Lord knows I've been wrong. Probably about half the time, all the time. So
I guess it's making me doubt my opinion. I'm curious more, and if that's in weather games like this, you don't want to lay a lot of points.
I don't think you do either. I mean, it's going to be bitter. It really will be.
Yeah. The one thing that I really wanted to mention was that it is one of 5 games on this reverse teaser card that you do not need the dog to win outright and cover a spread. You're getting the Raiders plus 3.5. So if we're thinking it'll be a field goal game, that could be one part of your 7 for 7, 2,000-1 on the reverse teaser, which did not start out good last night as you needed the Falcons to cover 2.5, and they only won by 1.
And then the Cardinals, who we just talked about, catching 2.5 on this card.
So, and then just adding in the cold and the fact that the Eagles defense, the Philly team knows how to play in the cold. This Raiders team plays in a dome in Las Vegas, so their practice is not cold. They're going to get shell-shocked, I think, and gave up are very capable of giving up sacks. Geno Smith's hold on to the ball too long. Eagles got 7 sacks against Justin Herbert on Monday. I think the Eagles defense is going to be able to handle business. So it's maybe too much to lay, but won't be a confident play on the Raiders. Won't be playing the Raiders regardless. Okay, we'll move to a backup quarterback starting on the road in Jacksonville. Brady Cook was named the starter for the Jets. Rookie, undrafted rookie out of Mizzou. Yeah. Came in last week against the Dolphins, went 14 for 30, 163 yards, and 2 interceptions. Also favored the tight ends as his looks when he was throwing the ball. So keep that in mind if you're playing anything with the Jets. But open Jacksonville minus 11.5, total at 42, up to 13, down to 41.5. Vinny, I won't have any more trends to go against the Jets here, but what do you think here?
Well, I just got a text. My cousin JoJo's the backup in this game. He's been working out on Staten Island under the watchful eye of the Jets staff. Look, this is another game where the Jags have been playing extremely well. Jets, I will say this: the Jets have been battling. They've been fighting. There's a lot of guys on that team that are fighting for jobs, and that's something, especially in the pros, to be mindful of. And again, I'll use last night as an example. You've got a team in the Falcons that were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs last night. They could have very easily, dialed it, wired it in. Going into the fourth quarter last night when they were down by 2 touchdowns and they didn't. They keep fighting. The Jets have players that are doing the same thing. That said, though, the Jags have been playing very well, not only offensively, but the defense has been a bit of a surprise too, I think. So This is a game where the Jags open 11.5 on Monday. A lot of uncertainty with the Jets quarterback situation. Cook, he had the entire week to get ready. This game is at 13. Does he get to 2 touchdowns? Very possibly. Here we are on Friday. I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot of support for the Jets in this one, Chrissy.
We haven't yet, that's for sure. But again, I was crunching some numbers, and I know the Jags are playing a lot better. They definitely are. But you look at their season as a whole, they're not that good. They're just not that good. I got to give a lot of credit to the coach. I think he's brought the best out of this team that he possibly could. And a lot of it goes to Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he's just, we've been waiting, for him to get to that upper echelon. I don't think he's ever getting to that upper echelon. But I think maybe we could hope for him to be Justin Herbert, something like that, who, again, is a notch below that top echelon himself. But I don't know. I just don't think this team is all that great. But listen, you want to put your money on a quarterback? Until 5 minutes ago, I'd heard of him, but I don't know anything about him. But I don't know. I think it's a tough call. But, boy, again, laying those big double digits on a team that is not that good, boy, you're just begging for trouble. Gun to my head, I think I'd take the Jets here.
You remember Brady Cook? He had a pretty
he was okay.
good long career with Mizzou, and might have broke the record for passing yards there.
Sounds right.
And then his wide receiver is a backup on the Bears. I can't remember his name.
Luther Burden.
Thank you. Luther Burden. It was those two, that duo. Anyways, I made it 9 with Tyrod Taylor. So I don't know if this 4 points is the correct adjustment here for quarterback. I would assume it's probably right with his first start. So it was a stay away from me. If anything, I'd be looking to take the points with the Jets. And to Vinny's point, we talked about Raheem Morris and all those coaches coaching for their job last night, even though they were eliminated. I mean, I think the Jets staff still trying to prove themselves there in the first year, and a lot of players playing for their jobs. So it would be a take, but nothing confident.
Our guy Sean is directing this hour, and he had the division standings up while you guys were talking. And a thing that I wanted to point out is the Texans and the Jaguars lead the division. Texans and Colts are tied at 8-5. If the Texans win out, ending the season at 12-5, and the Jaguars go 3-1 to end up at 12-5. Sean, can you go over to the schedules? The Jaguars end the season against the Titans, and the Texans end the season against the Colts. So essentially the way things play out, the Jaguars are looking at a matchup against the Broncos. They're going to be underdogs in that game in Denver.
Sure.
So on paper, they're 3-1. The Texans on paper should go 4-0. They're in LA against the Chargers, and then they host the Colts. So we could be looking at a tie at the end of the year. The Texans would win the AFC South, would get that playoff positioning over the Jags. That was my main point there, is that the Jaguars need to win every single game that they can to close out this year, because the Texans are right on their tail, knowing that they have to win out. They're also the hottest team in the league with their win streak going. So we'll move on, though. We'll go to...
Best number I see is plus 170 for the Texans to win the division.
We also have... earlier in the week, it was 4-1 for the Broncos, Bills, Texans. And what was the fourth team to win the AFC? All tied at 4-1. I believe it was, the Patriots. And that has shifted in the last couple of days. Bills now your favorite at 3-1. Broncos right behind them, 375. Patriots still there at 4, but the Texans have now dropped to plus 550 to win the AFC. That's one that I'm pretty tempted by, especially by how things could be playing out. So. Going to another game in a winter weather warning. The Cleveland Browns on the road in Chicago taking on the Bears. Open Chicago -7, now to 8, total at 40, down to 39. The wind chill in this game will have the players feeling negative degrees.
Well, I like the Bears, but what scares me a little bit, and I made the number 9, so nothing to go crazy over. But it is, they got the Packers last week. They got the Packers next week.
Yep.
This looks like a gimme game. We know how that works in the NFL. Yeah. It's not easy. So I do kind of like the favorite. I like the way this Bears team's been playing. They seem to be getting better as well. Again, I went and crunched some of their numbers, and I got a lot of these from Jeff Fogel. And we talk about Jeff. He's a good friend of ours, and he has one of the best newsletters, I think, out there. He really, and maybe the best. The Bears also are just not that good, But, I hate to say that,
That's okay.
Mr. McCormick. I'm just trying to be honest here. We got to the Steelers a little later. Anyway, but they, the Browns, I had the Browns last week as a bet against Tennessee. They have 4 touchdowns. I mean, if that doesn't stop and make you think a little bit. So I don't know. The Browns are just just a god-awful team. It's a terrible situation, I think, for the Bears. I think I'd still have to play the Bears, though, in this one. Just this. And I checked, and I remember talking about Shedeur Sanders' QBR. I think it was 14 or something like that total. What's up to 19.9. He actually had a pretty decent game last week, but in a losing effort against a horrible, horrible team.
Yep.
So let's not put that, hang ourselves on that one too much. But, I don't know. Like I said, gun to my head, I'd play the Bears, but I'd be very careful of that sandwich spot that they're in.
Yep.
They bet the Bears so far, and they're going to keep betting the Bears. It's a bet against the Browns. I mean, one of the best defenses in the league, no question, in Cleveland. But, I don't see the trends changing. This is, along with the Jets game, right? The Raider Eagle games, the two lowest totals on the board, and they bet it under already. So they'll probably continue to do so. Again, Ryan, you brought up the weather factor. The Bears still battled back last week. They were pretty spirited against the Packers. I don't think it's a look at. They know they need this game too to make next week even more important. So, and of course the Lions they've got a tremendous game we'll get to in a bit against the Rams. So, I think the mindset of the bettors is Bears, and I think it's been that way so far. Alex, I think it stays that way.
I'm with these two. I made it 8.5, so pretty close to the number there. I made the total 42 before the weather, so if there is over 20-mile-per-hour winds, might take 5 off of there and lean to the under here. I think we're going to get a run-heavy script from both sides. The Bears are the best when they establish the run first, right? And it's not just Swift, but now they've got running back by committee and pretty good ones there. And then on the other side, Quinshon Judkins coming off a tough game against the Titans. They held him to 26 yards, but before that, we saw a few breakout games for him, 91 against San Francisco and 75 earlier against the Jets. So I think it's going to be a run heavy. I'd lean to the under here, the weather and everything.
There are 19 guys on the Cleveland Browns injury report this week. They have already ruled out their starting left tackle, their starting center, their starting right guard, and their starting left guard, and their starting left guard is questionable. So you could be looking at a game without all 5 of the Cleveland Browns starting offensive linemen. I think the Bears feast here. Behind DeAndre Swift, behind Kyle Monangai. Maybe a homer play, but I like the Bears against the Brownies.
That could explain why they couldn't get their run game going last week.
Yeah. All right, we'll go into another one in a winter weather warning. The Buffalo Bills at the New England Patriots. Open Bills -1, went down to a pick'em. We now are back to the Bills being favored. This one is a 96% chance of snow during the game. So could be a pretty fun one to watch and look for players through the snow. But Vinny, what do you think?
Didn't matter last week in Buffalo, right? Patriots won in Buffalo, where people really started to, I think, take note of the Patriots more seriously, and rightfully so. Good team, well coached. That said, I think they came back on the Bills. I think they're going to continue to bet the Bills this week for the payback aspect, and simply because, look, their defense is not particularly good, but they can score points, and anytime you can score points, you're never out of a game, and in this day and age of the NFL. So I suspect we'll need the Patriots in this game, Chris. It wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, I'm not sure who we're going to need. I know a lot of wise guys are on the Bills, and again, I start looking at Mr. Fogel's numbers here, and the teams are very evenly matched. The caveat is the Bills have played a much tougher schedule, and that's one of the things. I've mentioned it before that the what's the word? Not the equality, the parity in this league is a bit of an illusion. It's not an illusion year to year because of the way the schedule works. So the Patriots had a terrible team last year, and they got to play an easy schedule this year. All that is good. And I can get into some other stuff at some other time when we have more time. But the fact is that those schedule quirks, if you haven't, do play a lot of it means a lot when you're starting to crunch numbers and statistics. So you have to have that in your mind. And if you go through that, the Bills are probably the stronger team and probably the deserving favorite. I don't know. I made the number a half. So it's right there. It's going one pick. I obviously have no opinion in the game based on my number, and I'm just going to root for whoever we need in this game. So we'll see what happens.
This is one of my Sportsbook Wire best bets as well. I'm on Buffalo here. I know Ryan is on the opposite side, so we got a little bit difference of opinions. Right here, two-way action on the desk.
Two-way action at the desk.
I love the fact that they've got home revenge. I like that it is snowing because Josh Allen is the best quarterback that you want to have in those situations. And, I mean, if they win this game, they're one game back to take the division back. Also, the fact that the Patriots have played a soft schedule. That win in Buffalo was number 2 of their 10-win streak, and 6 of those teams have already been eliminated, and they're not in the playoffs. The other 4, I counted up their wins. It was like a combined 17 because you got the Bengals and some other fluky teams in there as well. So I'm going to take the Bills here and Josh Allen and James Cook. I think might play a little hero ball, but I think they get this win and tie it up 1-1 between the two.
I don't fault you for that. I do think Josh Allen is a good anytime touchdown play this week, but another one that I like is the Patriots running back TreVeyon Henderson. I mentioned it last week that the Bills allow the most touchdowns to running backs in the NFL. They've allowed 18 through 13 games. So we're looking at 96% chance of snow, a good chance we're going to be looking at a whole lot of running, a whole lot of rush attempts. So yeah, I'll be playing TreVeyon Henderson. And yeah, Alex mentioned I do like the Patriots on the money line here. So getting a better 105 now than the 110 I took earlier. So, all right, going to another one in the winter weather warning. The Baltimore Ravens in Cincinnati taking on the Bengals. This one has a high of 12 degrees, and the wind chill will bring it into the negatives. So Ravens open -2.5, now sitting at 3, total at 51.5, still right there. Vinny, what do we think here?
Toggler, right? Laying 2.5, taking 3. This is we come right back. This is Thanksgiving night, where the Bengals went in and into Baltimore and shocked the Ravens, and so I think I think the Bengals are. I don't think they're mathematically eliminated, but obviously they last week was something that it's going to be difficult for them to overcome. Ravens too, though, right? Fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
So, I think it's probably going to come down to which quarterback is more efficient. And Burrow had a couple of big turnovers late in that. Actually, 3. I think 2 interceptions and 1 fumble. I mean, it was. Bengals defense still beat up. Hendrickson is done for the year now. We're not going to see him, and he's been out for at least a month. But the Ravens defense too, you wonder, right? How can this be? So, you look at this total, even though it's going to be cold, Ryan, that you mentioned, it's still in the 50s. This could be a wide open game because I don't think anybody really trusts either one of these defenses. But that said, I know. Chris, we're gonna need this game to not fall Ravens 3. So
exactly. I said last week I thought the Bengals could be the team that comes out of nowhere to make the playoffs. Joe Burrow had 2 completely uncharacteristic interceptions. I'm not sold out of the Bengals yet. I think that game was a bit of an aberration. And, really, we've been waiting for the Ravens to come back to where we expected them to be. At the beginning of the year, I mean, they were right there with the Bills and a couple other teams, but certainly right there with the Bills to be the best team in the AFC. And they haven't come close to that. Even when Lamar Jackson's gotten back, you could see he's not right. I mean, he's not the guy that won 2 MVPs. He's not even close to that. But the defense also, now they got some guys back. So it's probably a little better than their year-to-date stats have. But I haven't completely given up on this Bengal team. And, a lot of us saw with Joe Burrow, the statement he made the other day, almost sounds like he's ready to pull an Andrew Luck. And we're debating, is it an Andrew Luck or is it a Carson Palmer? Because Carson Palmer forced the Bengals to trade. He had essentially retired until they traded his rights, and he had some good playoff runs with Arizona. I'm not sure where Burrow's head is at, and it's hard to predict what somebody's feeling. But I think this is the kind of game where the coach and the general and everybody says, oh, man, we better make Burrow happy in this game because, it's on the line. So I think they're going to do their best to protect him, whether that includes running the ball or max protect on some of the passing situations. But I think that you're going to see an all-out effort by Cincinnati. And I think they respond after last week. I like Cincinnati here. I made this game pick. I think if you could take 3, I would take Cincy plus a 3.
It would only be Bengals or pass for me, too. I think Chris just summed it up perfect. Uncharacteristic by Burrow. I thought they had that game against the Bills, and I really don't trust the Ravens. The Ravens fall right there with the Chiefs that people just can't get past, and this is the game. This is the game because otherwise they're going to miss the playoffs. But it's looking like both teams are going to miss the playoffs. So it would be Bengals or pass. I don't know if I'm going to get there yet.
Well, so last week it was pretty much Bengals needed to win out, and they needed the Steelers and Ravens to lose 2 of their final 5. But obviously the Bengals went down, so now they really need to win out. Obviously they have the head-to-head with the Ravens here and would need the Ravens to lose likely next week against the Patriots or even the Packers the week following. So the Ravens are very much looking at being out of the playoffs, and it's more so between Bengals and Steelers, which also, the Steelers no longer have the head-to-head to end the year. But
you said likely. I would bet
Isaiah likely
because the Bengals are bad against tight ends, and might be trying to target him after the league took one away from him.
Well, so that was anytime touchdown, and this one is for me is Derrick Henry. Didn't score last week. Prior to that, he'd scored in 3 straight. Has scored in each game against the Bengals as a Raven, 3 of them. So after not finding the end zone last week, I think he'll be able to do it again. And then Lamar Jackson is 10-2 as a starter versus the Bengals. Has yet to lose in the city of Cincinnati. I think that comes to an end, and the Bengals get it done here, trying to fight things back for Joe Burrow. We'll move on to the game in Kansas City, the final one with a winter weather warning. The Chargers on the road taking on the Chiefs. Temps with wind chills will be at 0 or will hit 0. So Chiefs -4.5 was the opener. We are a heavier favorite now, 5.5. Total was 43.5. That has moved the opposite way to the under, now to 41. Chris, what does that action look like?
I made the game 5, so I'm right in the middle. It was 4.5, 5.5. So I'm right in the middle. So no real opinion based on any kind of numbers. Again, you look at it, and again, I'm going to keep patting myself on the back for saying at the beginning of the year the Chiefs are going to have a down year. If they make the playoffs and win the Super Bowl, they still had a down year compared to what they've been over the years. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, to be honest with you. But I'm still not sold on this Chargers team. I think I see some things occasionally. I like Justin Herbert a lot. I don't love him. Like I said, he's a notch below those other top quarterbacks. I do like Jim Harbaugh. As a person, I wouldn't want to have him as a guy to go to dinner with or anything like that. But he's a hell of a coach. He really is. And I think he's kind of, considering the injuries and all that other stuff that's happened to this Charger team, I think he probably deserves some accolades for getting the most out of this team. But I just don't quite trust him. I don't trust the Chiefs either. And like I said, I made it 5. It's been between 4.5, 5.5. No opinion for me, but like I said, I am so sick of the Chiefs. I wouldn't mind seeing the Chargers beat them.
Weather will be a little different than the first game in Brazil.
Yeah.
So, thing about this game is it's been predominantly Chiefs action all week. Not a real surprise. A must win. Maybe that's overused, but the fact of the matter is it's the Chiefs, and they've been the AFC team to beat for the better part of the last decade. Chargers, we talked about offensive line injuries to the Browns. I think you can say the same thing about the Chargers here, and they lost another offensive lineman on the first play of the game last week, and a very physical game. A physical game, too. I was surprised, actually, with Herbert's injury to his left hand, how much under center he was and how many hits he took. That was a pretty spirited and hard-hitting game. But you say it's tackle football. Not all games are as hard-hitting to the same level. That was a hard-hitting game last week, and I think that one, took quite a bit out of Herbert with that injury. I think they've bet the Chiefs so far. I think they're going to keep betting the Chiefs this week. We're gonna need the Chargers in this game, Alex.
It really is a terrible spot for the Chargers, right? Coming off the short week on Monday night, very physical game there, and kind of emotional win. We saw it at the end, right, with even the interview. So I could understand why people are betting on the Chiefs. I'm not going to. I'm right there. I'm 4, actually. So it's almost a lean to take in the points, but I just don't like the spot. If anything, I wanted to bet the over. Neither team really has a strong run game right now, so I do think it's going to be pass heavy, but the weather, so you can't get there over 41 either.
To the point of Justin Herbert looking pretty decent last week against the Eagles and being able to throw stiff arms out there and throw his left hand out there. If we're hitting 0 degrees, you just had surgery on your hand, you're going to be feeling that a lot more, especially going against this Chiefs defense. So I do think we've gotten to the point where the number's getting too big, and if we get a 6, I will take it. But at this point, can't confidently take the 5.5, especially with the Chiefs competing for their playoff lives. All right, we'll go to New York, or MetLife in New Jersey. The Commanders on the road taking on the Giants. Open Giants -2.5, still there at 2.5. And then we've got a total at 40, open 47.5, has gone down to 46. Vinny, what's it looked like in this game?
Jaden Daniels done, right?
Yep.
Did touch 3 earlier, so another game that we're obviously not going to need the 3 on. It looks kind of interesting, right? It's a little strange. The Giants are favored here, but team battling. Both these teams now, trying to evaluate where they are and where they're headed. Evaluating personnel and things like that. So, point spread being the equalizer or potential equalizer. I could see where at the end of the day that this being the last of the early slate, we're gonna need the Commanders in this game, even though it's kind of toggled back and forth. Not a real surprise that the Giants have gotten the support so far, and I think they're going to continue to get the support, Chris.
Yeah, what are we looking at with Jackson Dart?
He should be playing.
Yeah, healthy and all that.
Yeah.
I think it's a good game for him, not just physically to get healthy, but stats to get healthy too. He's playing a horrible defense. Again, I was looking at Jeff Fogel's numbers, looking at defensive percentage, touchdown surrendering percentage. Washington is 3rd worst in the league behind Cincinnati and Dallas. Giants are 4th worst, by the way. but that's I think the quarterback they're facing. Mariota's played fairly well, but I think I have a lot of questions on this Washington side and a lot less on the Giants side. I made a number 3.5, so it's going through the 3. So to me, this is going to be one of my plays. I like the Giants minus the 2.5. And by the way, last week I called DK Metcalf Decaf Metcalf. It's a matter of time before I call Cam Scattaboo Scam Cataboo. It's just a matter of time.
I can't get there on the side. I feel like it's a slight overreaction. I mean, the market bet Minnesota from a favorite to a dog. All the money on the Commanders last week. They get shut out, and now they're taking the Giants to a 2.5-point favorite here. I'm closer to a pick in this one between these two because I haven't done a whole lot of adjusting with Marcus Mariota and Jaden Daniels switching in and out, and I do think they can put up points. I like that you just said about both defenses, because I would like the over in this one too, and I still might, because I mean, a lot of people playing for jobs right here. I mean, you got a backup quarterback, and Marcus Mariota still trying to show his worth, even if it says one of the best backups. And then Jackson Dart, rookie there. So I think we're gonna get points. I think it's gonna be a sloppy game, to be honest.
Well, you guys mentioned, obviously, Jaden Daniels not playing in this game, but Zach Ertz has also lost for the year, and Marcus Mariota pretty heavily favored Zach Ertz with both plans. So I do think that will be a big concern for the Commanders' offense. Will they be able to actually move the ball on this Giants defense? But again, I had made the point that the Giants defense doesn't really know how to play the ball while it's in the air. So maybe we're rooting for turnovers on the ground. But the thing that I wanted to point out, and what I'll be looking at anytime touchdown-wise, is Theo Johnson. The Commanders allow the third most passing touchdowns in the NFL to all receiving targets, and Theo Johnson leads the Giants in red zone targets. So we'll be looking at Theo Johnson there. All right, going to Seattle. We've got the Colts on the road taking on the Seahawks. Open Seahawks 11.5, total at 43. Still no official word on Phillip Rivers being the starter. He is still on their practice squad.
He's going to start. He's going to start.
More than likely, yeah, he'll be starting. Riley Leonard did return to practice, but yeah, more than likely it'll be Phillip Rivers. So, Chris, what are your thoughts here?
They didn't sign him to just put him on the practice squad. He didn't come off.
Pretty similar to Sam Darnold.
Yeah, high school. I saw him compared to George Foreman winning the heavyweight championship at 45 years old. Listen, there's a reason they reached out to him. There's a reason he said yes. There's a reason they signed him. I mean, if he doesn't start, I'll be shocked. And I got to tell you, if he does start, which I'm about 90-some% sure that he will, this is the game I'm watching in that late window. I can't wait to see this. And listen, being an old guy myself, I'm kind of hoping he does pretty good. I mean, all that being said, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with the number up to where we are. I'm not sure I'd be putting my hard-earned dollars on a, 45?
44.
44. Looks a little chubby, too, by the way. I'm not sure I'd be having my money on him, but damn it, I'm going to be rooting for him to at least make a decent showing against a fantastic defense. I mean, probably no worse than like the third defense in the league, So, I mean, he's got his work cut out for him. But, I mean, listen, this is what makes sports great, and I'm hoping, and like I said, this is the game going to be in my one corner TV that I can see most easily.
He doesn't mind a hostile environment either, for sure. But
he's got 11 kids. How hostile is that?
That's what I'm saying. That's what do you think I was talking about? Stadiums? It's 14. That's there'll be Phillip Rivers backing, and that's I think what anybody looking to bet the Chargers is waiting for. Seahawks, as Chris pointed out, terrific defense. Their home field is returning. Their home field edge is getting back. To where it was a few years back when they were Super Bowl champs and contenders. Boy, the Colts, lots of issues. I mean, it's a team. What are they 6-0? But they've lost 5 out of the last 6 games, right? I mean, it's talk about fighting for playoff survivability. But yeah, I think before we see Colts money, this game will have to get to 2 touchdowns.
This one I can confidently bet the over here. I am going to need the Colts to do a little bit offensively, but I mean, really it falls on Seattle, who's second right now in points per game, 29.8. And that's not just offensively. That also comes from their defense, too. And I think we could see that in this matchup, whichever quarterback does start for the Colts. But 4-2 to the over at home this year, Seattle, and 7-3 when the line is 45 or less. So I made it a lot higher. I'm going to take a shot here. Good points on both sides.
Sean has the remaining schedule, playoff picture and remaining schedule on the screen right now, but he did have the comeback player of the year odds, which Phillip Rivers is now the third favorite to win, getting 18-1. I will say, if they're looking at Seattle this week, and then they have the Niners and the Jags the 2 following weeks. If the Colts find a way, I mean, maybe just win one game and he's got a real conversation, but if they find a way to get back into the playoffs with Phillip Rivers as the quarterback, he's absolutely winning comeback player of the year.
4 games?
I thought after Joe Flacco came off the couch and did win the award, they put it into the rules that he had to be coming back from an injury or something. I don't know. We'll have to look
Yeah,
How
into
about
we'll have to look
retirement,
into
though?
it,
Coming
Yeah.
back from
How about with 11 kids, sanity?
All right.
That's just what I thought. So just to be careful.
That's
and
why
double
I
check
don't book
before you bet
votes.
it.
I don't book votes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an absolute. I don't
Yeah.
mind booking game, anything. But votes, I don't know what
Yeah.
some writer's going to think. I don't know.
All right, we're going to Denver. Green Bay Packers, the 2 seed in the NFC versus the number 1 seed in the AFC. Opened Green Bay as a 2-point road favorite. We still sit as Green Bay as a 2-point road favorite. Total was 41.5. We are up a point to 42.5. Vinny, has there been some pretty good two-way action on this game?
Yeah, so went down to 1.5, then as high as 2.5. So support for both sides, which is always good in our world. A little move to the over. I mean, I don't think the weather's going to be as bad here, but it can't be much better than Chicago right? I mean, plus altitude. I think the number surprised a lot of folks too, that the Broncos would be a home dog in this game. And so that's why the initial response was for the Broncos, but then Packers every week they get back. They get back. They're as public a team as we've seen. So, it's a good game. It's this is a game I think a lot of folks are going to get involved with because both teams are positioning themselves for the postseason. Josh Jacobs has been questionable for the last month, but he still finds a way not only to play but make some impactful plays. And again, I've said it all year. I tip my cap to the Broncos. They're in close games. They're behind. They play close enough, and then they find a way in the fourth quarter here. So I think both sides are gonna get support, and this will be one of our bigger handle games for the weekend, Chris.
This is one of those games where I made the game pick. I saw a lot of respected handicappers like Green Bay. I went back to see, was I off on my numbers? And to tell you the truth, there was a lot of numbers that favor Green Bay. And I'm almost there thinking, well, maybe I missed the boat here a little bit. But look at those defensive numbers for Denver. And there's, by some measurement, they may be the best defense in the NFL. Houston has a lot to say about that.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle has a lot to say about that. Believe it or not, the Rams have a little bit to say about that too. But Denver may be the best defense in the NFL. And I made it pick. I mean, I don't think this would be a play for me unless it got to 3, which I don't think it's going to get to 3. Because I'm looking now, I could see in our store, we just went from 2.5 down to 2. And once again, though, I mentioned it before, when you're at that 2.5, you want to look to play the dog. Because that means the favorite isn't strong enough to get to 3. So even though I had to take a double look, thought maybe I was wrong, I can't get there with Green Bay. This Denver defense is just too tough. They win a lot of close games, and sometimes you think they're just not going to be able to pull that one out. But that defense is going to keep it real close, So, again, is this going to be one of my plays? No. But I think my original number that I made a pick, I think that's a good number.
It is one of my plays. I was hoping you weren't going to say be careful of the trendy dog. So that makes me happy. I took the 2.5 with Denver. I made a pick, so jumped in here with the dog. I think the big thing for me is the defense because I said the exact same thing actually on my video. They are top 3 with Houston, and then probably between the Rams and the Seahawks there for number 4. Green Bay's good. They're probably 6 actually in the league, but we've seen them struggle when they've stepped up. They scored 7 against the Philadelphia Eagles. They scored 10 against Cleveland earlier on in the season. So they really struggle against these tough, stout defenses, and they're going to see it here in the Mile High. On the flip side, with Denver, they step up in these situations. They put 18 on Houston. They also beat Philadelphia. It was kind of a miracle. They put 21 on the Eagles. Same defense that the Packers really struggled. Plus, they're coming off a big division game where they just beat the Bears. So, give me the Broncos.
Let me interrupt you 1 second here. I was afraid of that trendy dog, too. By the way, I looked, ticket count is on Green Bay.
Okay, very good.
Well, Alex had mentioned there the Packers are coming in this one off of a matchup with the Bears.
And next week.
Yes. Teams that have the week after playing the Bears so far this year are 2-9-1 straight up. Yeah, the Cowboys tied the Packers in week 4. So coming off of Bears game, Alex had made the joke when I told her that note that they were the Lions, and I said it's the Ben Johnson effect. So I will be playing the Broncos here. They will be part of a teaser for me. The weather in this game is not as bad as in other parts of the country. It's actually looking at a high of 64, a low of 41, and the wind shouldn't be that bad in Mile High. So not as big of a factor as in some other games.
Excuse me one more second here, too. We were talking about just to backtrack a game.
Yeah.
Your dad stations casino at 14 with the Jets. Or
Okay.
I'm sorry, with the Colts.
Okay, the Seahawks.
Seahawks against the Colts.
There you go.
2 touchdowns there with the Colts.
Oh.
All right. Going to an NFC South battle. The Panthers on the road taking on the Saints. A little chance for home revenge here. Panthers open 2.5 as a road favorite. We still sit there. Total opened 39.5. We are up to 40.5. Vinny, we're going to need the Saints?
I think the public will be on the Panthers, the first place Panthers now.
Yep.
I think professionals are waiting for the 3 to show again. It did show
just
earlier, and there you go. It just showed back up again. So, by the way, don't blink if you with your apps over there. So yeah, I think this is a game where I think the general population be on Carolina, and who still has 2 games left with the Buccaneers, right? The last
week
game of the season
week 18.
and the third. So next week and then 2 weeks after. So interesting scheduling by the league, but that's the schedule. And yeah, Chris, I think this is a pros Joes kind of game.
Yeah, we just went to 3 here.
So
And then I've seen some other 3s in the market. I see 3 with juice on the dog, but they are betting the favorite here. So this is going to be one of my plays, and I was waiting to see if I can make a legitimate claim to be +3. I look at this Carolina team. I don't know how the hell they've won all these games. I really don't. I mean, you crunch the numbers. Young is not a good quarterback. Their defense isn't that good. I just don't know how they've done it. I guess, what's the coach's name? That's
Dave
Canales, Dave
Canales.
Canales.
Dave Canales.
He was with Tampa.
He's done a hell of a job here because I don't see how they can win any of these games. But I like Ryan Moore, the coach. They've been up and down, mostly down. But they do have Tyler Shuck, who's their new quarterback. He looks okay. Again, doesn't look like, and he wasn't a first-round draft choice, and he didn't look like he would have been worthy to be a first-round draft choice. But I think they are playing a little bit better. And once you get to that 3 mark, I thought, boy, I got to take the +3 here with New Orleans.
He's definitely a good backup, right? I think he's making the case. They've looked a lot better than when they had Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
I'd say with Shuck. I did the exact same thing, Chris. That's really funny because so I gave the Panthers home revenge because they did lose to New Orleans in Carolina. They're coming off a bye week. I made it 2.5. Gave out the money line, said that the home revenge factor. Then dug into the numbers, and they're not much better than the Saints. But I will say, with Dave Canales, they're seconds per play. They're the 7th slowest. They're also running the ball the 9th most, right behind Chicago, Washington, New England. So some of these teams that have had success because of that balanced offense, and I think that's kind of helps having Bryce Young there at quarterback. So I do still like them on the money line, but my just power rating number would be pick, and I said that earlier this week too. It's probably going to be a Joes versus pros because I could see the public loving the Panthers in this spot.
I am opposite of you guys. I do like the Panthers here. I think the opportunity to take control of the division with 2 head-to-heads coming up with Tampa is
Two-way
a huge spot for the Panthers to kind of prove their worth in this NFC South and kind of take that division crown away from the Bucs. So
Two-way action at the desk. You gotta
got
love it.
all right, going to what really is the game of the day down in SoFi Stadium. The Detroit Lions on the road taking on the Rams. Rams opened a 4.5-point favorite. We have moved a 1.5 to the favorite, being at 6, and total opened 53.5. The highest on the board has only gone up now to 55. So, Chris, what are you thinking here?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I would love to find a great price on the Rams to win the Super Bowl, but I don't think I can find one. There's Sleepy Hollow out there somewhere. I'd like to find it. Right now, and again, I'm looking at Fogle. I'm looking at my own numbers, too. I mean, they are clearly the best team. Now, the best team does not always win. God only knows. But, boy, they are just heads above pretty much everybody else in this league. Now, that being said, I only made this number 4.5. I think this Lions team is tough, and I think Campbell does a lot of things that I disagree with. I think the fourth down stuff has, gone to his head in a lot of ways. But I do think this team has like an inner toughness. A lot of it is reflected by their reflection of the coach. And I think this team comes to give the Rams all they can handle. I don't know if they can win this game. Like I said, I made a 4.5. That's actually a pretty big number in an NFL game for two teams that, the Lions aren't quite in the playoffs yet. I'm kind of hoping they get there, to be honest with you. So maybe part of it is a little bit of hope. But I do let my numbers speak for themselves, and I made the Rams 4.5. At 6, I think I would probably play the dog here.
Next chapter of the Stafford Goff story. Listen, both guys are entrenched with their teams, and rightfully so. Again, they're betting this game, betting favorite and over. I think anybody, pros looking to bet the Lions are waiting to see how high it can go, and we still have, a day and a half to get there. Definitely be the highest. I would say this would be the highest bet game in terms of a handle of the day slate. I mean, obviously, you got the primetime games on both Sunday night and Monday with all the carryover going to them. But this is a game everybody will want to get involved with. And anybody looking to bet the Lions is just waiting to see how high it gets. Neither one of these teams, we're never at a loss for in these last couple of seasons for money on either side. I think it's just a matter of folks waiting to see how high they can get the Lions with, Alex.
I made it 5.5. I'm right there at the number. I think this is one of those where the number kind of tells the story, right? I have a feeling if it was lower, people would be all over the dog thinking the Lions had a shot. But this number kind of shocked people to see the Rams 6 points above the Lions at home here. I'm more curious. It's interesting looking ahead to next week with Seattle and the Rams. Week 16, 2 books that are not here in Vegas. DraftKings has Seattle 1.5, and then the FanDuel has the Rams -1.5. So that's going to be the game of the week next week. I'm interested in. It would only be an overbet for me as well because the Rams play extremely fast and can force their opponent to play at that tempo, and I think the Lions will be trying to keep up the whole time. So I'm not going to go over 55. It's way too high for an NFL game, but that's the way I would try and look, or maybe some props.
Keep in mind that Rams-Seahawks game will be Thursday night next week, so short week for both of those teams going into Thursday night. And then we're currently also looking at the Lions and Bears matchup in Week 18 to be the final deciding factor for that final wildcard spot in the NFC.
Saturday games. Right?
Yeah. All right, we'll go to the one in San Francisco. The Titans, off of a win, are taking on the Niners. The Niners opened a 12.5-point favorite. We still sit there. And total opened 43.5 up to 44.5 now. Vinny, has there really been any action on the Titans?
No, there hasn't been a whole lot of action on the Niners either, except for teasers and money line. But I think, when you look at this game, you're the Niners and you're the Seahawks. So these are they're double-digit favorites, and the Rams they've got a potential playoff matchup on their hands. So come out of it as healthy as possible. Take care of business. No question, even though the number hasn't moved yet. Who we're going to need. We're going to need the Titans in this game to somehow cover, but are the Titans going to win 2 in a row, and with the second one being in San Francisco? I highly doubt it.
Well, I made it 14.5, and once again, be careful of diminishing returns on these huge games. But I bet against these Titans last week. I don't know what the hell got into them, but I don't think it's going to get into them 2 weeks in a row. I think I probably like the favorite a little bit here. It's not going to be one of my plays, but I would not take the Titans.
I think I'm laying it. I think I'm going to use it for my Circa Invitational to San Francisco, minus 12.5. You're cheating off of me on the test. I made it 14.5 as well. And I just think coming off a bye week, I think they're going to be ready. I think Shanahan will have his team. They needed a little bit of rest there. The Titans coming off a big win. Maybe a tinfoil hat. I think the team stepped up for Cam Ward going against Sanders, but whatever it was, it worked, and they got a win last week.
All right. Yeah, I have no no other things to mention in this game. It's it's Niners or pass for me. So going to Sunday Night Football, the Vikings on the road in Dallas. The Vikings coming off of a shutout victory against the Commanders, and the Cowboys are laying worst 6.5, but now down to 6. Total 48 down to 47.5.
So Vikings were shut out 2 weeks ago, right, in Seattle, and they do the shutting out last week. Cowboys, even though they took the points here with the Vikings, I know CeeDee Lamb is questionable. He's probably out,
he was
right?
announced good to go.
Okay, he got cleared concussion protocol.
I believe so.
So I will tell you this: we're going to need the Vikings in this game. They're going to bet the. I think they're going to bet the money will come back in on the Cowboys in this game. No real surprise there. Still hoping for to play their way into the postseason, and just I think offensively too many weapons against this Viking team, and the carryover going to it is going to drive this number back up, Chris.
I made it number 7. It's not going to be one of my plays, but you just look at this. Listen, what's the Dallas flaw this year? Their defense, particularly against the pass. Can Minnesota exploit that? I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I know they had high hopes for this kid, coming into this year. And they got rid of Darnold. They got rid of Daniel Jones too. Let's not forget he was on their team. McCarthy just has not produced. And again, I went through the numbers, and I know it's a pretty small statistical sample. His numbers are terrible. I mean, they're awful. I mean, I root for, like I said, I want all these guys to be good. It's best for the league. But boy, right now there got to be some serious question marks around this kid. I don't know if he can come back this week or not. I said a couple weeks ago they played great. Last week, not so much. Or do I have that opposite? Last week, they shut this team out or shut out Washington. I have no confidence in them. I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't think I would lay 6, but it's pretty close. I think, matter of fact, I might put that on my sheet, Dallas -6, because I don't see them competing with Minnesota.
I wish there was a game in between because Minnesota's so Jekyll and Hyde, right? And coming off of that shutout win. But you said, can they exploit it? You already told us Dallas is number 2, right? Their median, or maybe it's how many touchdowns by percentage they give up. And then Washington number 3. So maybe they very well could. I'm trying to make a case. I made this game 4.
Okay, I'm scratching it off.
No, don't scratch it off. You like Dallas when I like the Raiders.
No,
and
I
look how that
respect you
went.
too much. I'm scratching
So
it off.
my Cowboys number might be up. But they are the better defense. The Vikings defense is really good. Can they do enough offensively, and can their defense stop this? They are one of the best offenses with that duo. I don't know. I thought I'd be betting against Minnesota with that shutout too. So maybe I have to add that in.
Well, Chris, you'd mentioned last week betting on the team that got shut out, betting against the team that did the shutting out. I think it's a bet against the Vikings here in this one. I think the Cowboys will be able to do enough.
I'll tell your friend Alex.
I agree.
Especially being able to
I'm going to
stay in the playoff picture. So
yeah.
All right, we'll go to Monday Night Football. We did have 1 star cleared with the Dallas Cowboys getting CeeDee Lamb back. 1 star for the Pittsburgh Steelers is out. TJ Watt had a partially collapsed lung thanks to team treatment and had to have surgery this morning, so he will be out of this game.
His lung was punctured for a team treatment. I don't understand these.
The same thing happened to Tyrod Taylor.
I mean, a couple
Herbert
of
got
the dry needle.
Yeah.
Well, look, listen. Even though Watt may not have the popular, quarterback sacks, the totals that, in the rushes and, quarterback hits. He disrupts it. He's the key, right? And he makes everybody else better. That's a big loss for the Steelers against a team that's very hot right now. Could possibly. We're talking about the Bengals possibly, playing their way in. Now the Dolphins in a much more difficult standings division wise. But they're playing real good right now, and I don't know. It's I think this total, even though it came down to 41.5, I could see this total going back up. They did take the 3.5 on the opener, Chris, right, with the Dolphins. I think the Watt injury is big. You also hope that the Steelers don't have. I don't want to say a letdown, but it's a big win and an emotional win against an arch rival from a week ago, coming into this game here. So carryover from the weekend is gonna play into this number too. But I could see why people took the 3.5 with the Dolphins.
Yeah, I can too. I made the number 3. When it was 3.5, I'm thinking, you look at this Dolphin team and they're running the ball really well. Now, who's the one running back was questionable? And
Adrian, he's fine, right?
He's I was waiting to see what his prognosis was. Looks like he's good to go. I mean, half point is kind of cutting it pretty close. But at 3.5, gun to my head, I would take Miami in this game. And then you throw in the TJ Watt thing. And besides the fact that he's such a terrific player, and like Vinny said, he's a disruptor, even though he doesn't have the same numbers that he's had before. It's also a psychological factor.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a big, big key to that defense, and hasn't come up so far this year that much. But in the past, games that he's missed, they've had a terrible record. But, medical procedure. By the way, the guy that graduates last in his class in medical school, you know what they call that guy? Doctor.
Yeah.
So
Not Mr. or Mrs. Irrelevant.
Trick question there.
I knew where you're going.
Anyway, you knew where I was going with that. Yeah, be careful with these guys.
It's got to be an under game, right? I mean, the cold.
Gonna be freezing cold.
20
too.
degrees.
Freezing cold.
We saw Miami get over the hump last week in the cold. Can they do it 2 weeks in a row? I think you had brought that up earlier this week. And to your point, Achane before last night, and Bijan Robinson passed him. It was Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Achane, Gibbs, Derrick Henry, and Bijan Robinson in there somewhere. Pretty good company, right? I think they are definitely running the ball well. So my number's not quite this low, but I'm going to factor in the weather here, and I'm probably going to play on the under. I'm at 3 too, right where the number is for the side.
I like the underdog here. Missing TJ Watt, I think, is a very key factor for that defense, and the Dolphins just seem to have something going. They haven't been eliminated yet mathematically, so I think they get their 5th straight win here on the road and keep things going. So, but we are ready to wrap up the show. Chris, you want to give out your official plays?
Man, we went long today. I thought it was going to be a shorty. I got 3 plays. I would have had 4. No, I have 4 plays. I would have had 5. But I got the Bengals +3, Giants -2.5, Saints +3, Lions +6.
One more time.
Bengals +3, Giants -2.5, Saints +3, Lions +6.
I don't think we have any similar. Okay. I got Cardinals and Texans under 42.5. I like the Bills -1. I'm going with the Ravens. I'm not going with the Ravens. I'm going with the Broncos +2.5. And there was another one. I'm going to add that last one. Dolphins Steelers under 41.5.
Okay.
So 4 official.
I had a 3-leg teaser workout last week, so I'm going to try it again, and I'm going to go triple Bs. Bears, Broncos, Bengals. Bears are the only ones going down, lowering the favorite number, but the other two getting up, getting more points there, keeping it 1-score games with the Broncos and Bengals there. And then adding in the Dolphins to wrap things up on Monday night. But we will also have more of a breakdown on Monday. Normal edition of Sports by the Book coming at you at noon on Monday. But for now, that has been... Poll. Thank you, Vinny. I don't know how I always manage to
I'm over
forget
here
that.
near Brendan Gaughan's seat, so the pulp is, it reminds me.
I gotcha. Well, we did... I was going to burst Vince's bubble here, but that poll is bursting a bubble. Which playoff eliminated team upsets a team looking to secure their playoff spot. So the Saints on the money line getting plus 130 here at the South Point against the Panthers. The Jets getting 6-1 on the road in Jacksonville. The Browns 3-1 on the road in Chicago. And the Cardinals 4-1 on the road in Houston, taking on the Texans. There were no votes there for the Birds. Our chat went 40% with the Saints to bring the tie back in the NFC South. Tie between the Bucs and the Panthers there, making it a real head-to-head for that NFC South division crown. So for our crew, for Sean, Ann, Jerry, Vince, myself, Alex, Chris, and Vinny, thank you guys for watching Sports by the Book, Football Frenzy. Good luck this weekend.